Yes.
So, chapter 8, real estate taxes. In this chapter, we're going to talk about taxes. Okay, so we're going to describe the differences between the general real estate tax and what a special assessment tax is. And we're going to explain the taxation process and learn a lot of that lingo. So, tax liens. Taxation is the power of the state and local government. It's to impose taxes, tax liens to fund the operation of government. It's where the government gets their money in order to run. They get it from taxes, property taxes. Tax liens have priority over other previously recorded liens. They could jump to the head of the line if they're not paid. And there's generally two types. There's two types of real estate taxes. There's the general real estate tax that everybody needs to pay when you own real estate. It's also known as ad valorem in Latin. Ad valorem is the pronunciation, and ad valorem means according to value, and that's what the property tax is based on, the value of the home. And then there's a special assessment tax, which is an improvement tax. But no, it's not for the improvements that a homeowner does to their own property. It's for improvements that the municipality does around your property, in the vicinity of your property. They want to do some improvements in that area of town. Well, they could issue a special assessment only for the homeowners that live in that area, making them responsible for paying their share of funding for the improvement. Yeah, you don't get much of a say in it either. You know, that's up to your city council, right? Your council members. They're the ones that decide they want to do this or they want to do that. You know, and if they don't have the money to do it, well, they'll just create a tax that you need to pay. They call it a special assessment, and the homeowners that live in that area need to pay it in order to fund that improvement.
What is
So
the pronouns of that first one? Valorum?
ad valorem, ad valorem.
Valor. Okay. Thank you.
The ad valorem tax.
Mhm.
It's according to value. Okay, everybody got those
Okay.
notes? Those
Thank you.
highlights? So ad valorem is the general real estate tax that all the property owners pay. It's based on the value of the property being taxed. This is the property tax everyone who owns real estate must pay. And that money, where does it go? It goes to fund the operation of government agencies. Certain residents are entitled to take annual deductions from property taxes, and certain real estate tax is exempt from taxation altogether. So where does this ad valorem tax money go? Well, to states, or what determines how much you're charged for your taxes? Well, it's based on the value of your home, but it's also based on how much money your government needs. So they come up with a tax rate. And if you multiply the tax rate by the assessed value of the home, that's what your taxes are going to be. So the government, it's not just based on the value of the home. It is based on the value of the home in part. The other figure is tax rate that they multiply by the value of the home, the assessed value of the home, to figure out how much you're going to be paying in taxes. Now, what determines the tax rate? Well, different taxing bodies need certain amounts of money, so they will contribute to your tax bill. The state, counties, all municipalities, local schools, both local public elementary and high schools, publicly funded junior colleges and community colleges, libraries, park districts, forest preserves, and recreation districts. They all want a piece of your money. Water, sanitation, and drainage districts, historic districts, you know, all that stuff. They all want some of your money, so they all contribute. Some of that tax dollars that you pay go to all of these taxing bodies, all right? So that rate is composed of the amount of money from all of them that they want. They take that tax rate and then they multiply that by your assessed value. We're going to be learning about different types of value. Assessed value is the value that's used to determine your taxes by the tax man. Okay. It's not a reflection of actual market value of your home. Even though New Jersey's goal is to assess all properties at 100% of their market value. If you ever look at most municipalities and their taxing bills, the assessed value is usually way lower than the actual value of the home. If they were to ever actually reassess the value of your home and bring it up to the market value, you'd be paying even more in taxes. Mm-hmm. So let's highlight ad valorem is Latin for according to value, and ad valorem taxes are based on the value of the property that's being taxed. The general real estate taxes are levied to fund the operation of those government agencies that impose the tax. Okay. So, where does the majority of your tax dollars go? I told you the other day to some category that they call education. Got the big air quotes on that one. You know what? Here's an example of a movie. There's a lot of documentaries that have been made up about the public education system and how it's failing us in tremendous ways. And this, the excuse is always, it's never parental involvement. Can't be that. It's always, we need more money to solve the problem so that the government can raise your kids. We need more money for the schools. We need more money. And if you're not for more money for the category of education, then you're evil. You're against education for the kids. What's wrong with you? That's how the politicians pose it every time there's an election, right? And they're screaming for more tax dollars, right? Well, why are they screaming for more tax dollars? Well, usually it's because they end up giving more money to the unions and the administrators, and then they just kick back some of that money back to the politicians in exchange for the never-ending circle of, we'll give you money if you get all of your members, all your teachers to support us politically when it comes time for my election. So the politicians give money to the education, and then education supports the politicians, and they make donations to them too. So they give some of that money back. That should not be allowed. Right? We're gonna pass a bill to fund to give you more money, which then you're gonna give a portion of it back to us and support us, and then get the troops out there to rally to make sure you vote for us again. So next time we could give you even more money. Where do you think taxpayer dollars are going? This raises our taxes. We've been throwing more money at public education since the 70s, because that's what people were crying about. They said, it's the money. Poor school districts are not getting by. They're not getting good grades because of the money. No, it's not because of the money.
We're never getting the money.
Since the 70s, we've been throwing tons of money in this big experiment. And more every year, we've been throwing tons and tons and tons of money at the education system, and it hasn't panned out to make it any better. Right? So there's a documentary, one of many documentaries that are out there. This one uses New Jersey as ground zero. So this the director of this documentary made this film, and he interviews parents. He goes to public schools. He goes to charter schools, which are publicly funded private schools, basically. He goes, teachers unions, all against them. Education, and certain politicians, they get those kickbacks. They're totally against charter schools and school choice. And the reason being that they lose control over the money and your votes. So they're against that. This guy, he goes and he interviews parents, he interviews teachers, he interviews teachers unions, he interviews administrators. He goes to all different kinds of schools. He gets everybody's point of view, so it's not like a biased movie. but yet teachers unions were sending out disruptors to the movie theaters where he was playing, having showings of this. Anytime, if you could get 30 or more people, he would book a movie theater where he could have a screening of it and show it to everybody. And then he would show up there and have question and answer after the documentary. But you had these teachers unions advocates there that were just shouting him down when he was trying to answer people's questions. And he was just like, see, he's like, they just try to shout you down. They don't want you hearing any of this stuff because it's true. And they don't want you hearing any of it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here screaming, trying to silence this. So anyway, you could actually watch this full movie without buying it. You can watch it on Tubi TV if you got that app. Here's a little clip from this documentary called The Cartel, which is based on New Jersey's public education system here.
It is a crime. It's not terrorists that's going to destroy America. It's urban public education if we don't do something about it.
I don't know where the money's going. The equipment is destroyed. There's graffiti everywhere.
The teacher tells the parent, oh, this is a good school. When I said, lady, your kid can't read or add 2 and 2. What do you mean it's a good school?
Education is a business that has a monopoly. When you have a monopoly, you can do whatever you want.
It is virtually impossible to fire a teacher.
We had a teacher who didn't have good control over his temper and punched kids, slapped kids regularly.
You take a stance and you're going to lose your job. They play dirty because there's so much money involved.
In Newark, for example, we have, I think, well over 400 administrators making more than $100,000 a year. And it's wasteful and needs to stop.
Today. Administrators, principals are making more than that today. Administrators are upwards of $400,000 or more per year.
I used to wonder not why parents weren't protesting, but why aren't parents lighting fires and breaking windows?
It's not about doing something for the kids and having better schools. It's about getting elected.
Corruption is out there, rampant, pervasive, institutionalized.
People should be in jail. You can't lose $1 billion and not be able to explain how you spent that money or where the money went.
It's a sad saying, but they've been pimping our children for a very long time.
We've got to think of some other solutions. Throwing money at the problem isn't working. That as an option is coming to an end.
They give respect to these kids, and they show that they care about them.
Kids in failing situations, dangerous situations, we need to give them immediate relief.
Yeah, I have kids who have graduated with diplomas from Camden High and Woodrow Wilson who don't know how to read for 12 years. What did you do with that child? What did you do with the money?
It's just like, you ever seen that movie, Lean on Me?
Yeah.
It's just like that. It's just like that, but before Joe Clark.
Before the baseball bat.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So this is in that Word document. I got the links to this video there in that Word document. Remember, so let me just pull this off. I'll share it with you in the, here's the link to the full documentary, not just this, this teaser video that I'm showing you right now. It's called The Cartel Movie. It's actually worth a good watch. You learn a lot. Everybody get that?
Yes.
All right. Let me also make sure that I do have it in that class links Word document here. Where is it? Here it is. Here's where all the movies are. I told you about that one that documentary series that I couldn't couldn't remember the name. It's called Historic Battles for America. It's narrated by Kelsey Grammer and created by Kelsey Grammer and Brian Kilmeade, both of them history buffs. Okay, so that one it's available on Fox Business Channel and Roku. Okay, so here's a bunch of these series. Let me see. Do I have the cartel in here? Yes, I do. Cartel is right there. Cartel movie. We got the men who built America, the titans of industry, the American dynasties, the cartel.
Money Pit about?
Huh?
What's the Money Pit about?
You never seen the Money Pit? That's funny. It's a comedy. It's just that sometimes when we talk about stuff in class, I bring things up. I'm like, it's kind of like the Money Pit. You guys ever see that? And most people didn't because, a lot of people are younger and younger coming into these classes now. It wasn't that long ago. It was from the 1990s, I believe. You had the Money Pit. It's a comedy with Tom Hanks and I forget who, Shelley Long, I think was in there with him. Anyway, they're a married couple. They buy this house. It looks like a mansion. They get a great deal on it. The house is beautiful. It's gorgeous inside and out. And they're like, what's wrong with it? I mean, there's got to be something wrong. This house is too perfect. It's gorgeous. And so they buy the house. They get a great deal on it. It's just that they're sold some kind of a story. All these people, they just want to get out of it. They want to not be tied to it anymore. So they buy the house. Now, the first day they walk into the house, they get married. They're honeymooners. He picks her up, carries her over the threshold to walk into the new house, and they close the door behind them. And the whole door and the door frame fall out of the house. That's how it starts, And it's like, that's just one thing. You say, oh, we got to fix that. And it's just one thing after the other while they're living there. And it shows how the real estate can ruin relationships because they go from this loving new couple to wanting to get divorced over this house because it put them through such hell. So that's a great show. That's a great movie. You should look that one up. A lot of good ones here. All right, let's go back to our chapter here. So here are some other taxes that we voted for. Politicians are often cowards, and sometimes what they'll do is they'll put, when they want to create a new tax and they don't want to get blamed for it, they'll put it up on the ballot for you to vote for it, to vote it into law. So here's actually an example of one, the Green Space Expansion and Preservation Program. This one was on the ballots, like when you go for presidential elections or for primary elections or whatever, they put those public option questions on the side. My advice to you guys is if you're not thoroughly informed about what this public option question is about, do not vote for it. Don't vote for it if you're only hearing summaries and you can't get the details on it and you don't know what it's about. Vote against it all the time, because usually it's about creating new taxes or giving politicians the powers to raise taxes without coming to you every time for permission in the future, or they create new laws that somehow restrict you in some way. It's not just about real estate. It could be about anything, like cashless bail. That's like one of the worst things that they put into place ever. They said, well, it's for poor people that may not be able to afford whatever. Well, at least don't commit a damn crime then. It shouldn't be any mandatory cashless bail that allows people back on the street, without having to pay any bail. So anyway, this Green Space Expansion Program was one of those debacles. And the way they sold it was, it's a tax. It's a new tax. It's 1%. But what they didn't tell you there, it also gives the politicians the ability to go back and raise the tax if they need more money later for this program. It's a new tax, 1%, that would be used to beautify our parks and to make new parks and to preserve land and open space from construction. All right. Yeah. So how do you preserve space and prevent it from construction? Well, I guess you could go to your rich friends who own an estate that has their barn on there for their horses and their paddocks, and they have the house and the guest house, and their whole property's already built up, and they don't plan on building it up any further. Well, I guess they could go to those rich people and they could say, hey, listen, we'll give you a money if you sign this document that says you agree not to build any further on your property. So they're like, okay, not planning on it. So, okay. And that's basically what it is. It's payoff for a lot of rich people and connected people. But they also they also do some park beautification programs or park creations, but a lot of this money just were simple payoffs. A lot of towns, like my town in Linden, we got a big grassy area on the side of the high school, Votech High School. And that was always used by the ROTC to go out there and practice and whatever. But the city, they went and they took a boatload of money saying that they're not going to build on it. So the city took the money from the payoff too. This isn't just the private people. You would think that it would be to buy their rights. The city could just simply not agree not to build on it, but instead they used it as a way to get this money. What the hell? It's coming from the taxpayers. If they need more, they'll just tax you more. And the funny thing is, they took that boatload of money when they first passed this. Now my city wants to expand the school size and build over that area. So, but in order to do that, they're going to get fined, because when they sign those documents agreeing not to build on the property, they got to pay back all the money and then get a fine, a penalty for it. Okay. But does your town care? No, because those politicians, where would they get the money to pay the fines or to pay the money back? You, the taxpayer.
Mm-hmm.
It's your money. What do they care? Right? That's the way it works. So I'm going to show you some of these areas that they are preserved parklands or preserved space that they can't build and overdevelop on. Anybody ever see this one there on Inman Ave and Featherbed Lane? Anybody ever see this where the roads meet? They T-bone like this. This is at a light stopped intersection. This is during the summer, I guess, when all the greenery is out. Looks like crap. There's a garbage all over the place.
Edison Preserve Open Space.
Yep. Edison Preserved Open Space. They're using your taxpayer dollars to make sure this land does not get developed on. Oh, wait, I got another picture at another time of the year. Not much better. But look, instead of you building houses over here, they're preserving this open space. I wonder why. Probably because it's at the intersection right there. You probably couldn't get a permit to build on it anyway. And if you did build, nobody would want to buy the house at an intersection like that, where lights stop and point directly in your front window. So the town gave them a bunch of money from the Green Space Expansion Program. Whoever it was that owned this property, they were a beneficiary of it. Passed by the Edison Municipal City Council. Here's another example. Look at all the garbage along the road. So this is another bed. This is right where the light is for turning down to the left here. And so it's basically a big lot where they're not going to build on.
Okay, when you sit there and say that, that's the cities. If they want to build on it, can they?
Well, this could have been a private owner. I don't know if it was the city that owned this. It's the city that approved it and gave the money for it.
Oh.
So they had people process the applications for that. So I don't know. Maybe it was somebody on the city council owned this lot, and they couldn't do nothing with it anyway. So they took a big payoff from the Green Space Expansion Program and said, okay, I'm not going to build on it.
So you can have it.
And then in exchange, they're probably not going to get taxed on it either, because they're not going to build on it. Right?
So who owns that lot now? With the person that owns it, but the city owns it now?
The person could still own it.
Oh, okay.
You know, but they just sold their rights to build on it.
Oh, okay.
Now, they didn't give up their rights, actually. They just signed an agreement not to build on it. And if they ever do build on it in the future, well, they'll have to pay the money back to the Green Space Expansion Program plus a penalty. That's fine. That's what happens when you violate it. Okay, let's look at who else gets exemptions from the general real estate tax. Who gets certain tax benefits? Well, senior citizens 65 and older who meet certain income requirements and it's their primary residence, they can make annual deductions of up to $250 on their property tax. Ooh, so generous, $250. I think my taxes go up more than that every year, right? Veterans, at least honorably discharged veterans with service-connected wounds or disabilities, and their unmarried spouses, indicating when they say unmarried spouses, that indicates the veteran was killed. So as long as the spouse did not remarry, they're entitled to the veteran's benefits. Okay, so they could get, for real and personal property taxes, they could also get a $250 deduction on their taxes. So generous. However, disabled veterans and non-veterans could get a total 100% tax exemption for their property. So I'm not sure what the level of disability is. Is it full disability or half disability that gets you that 100% tax exemption? But veterans and non-veterans who are disabled can apply to get 100% tax exemption and not pay any taxes on the property that they own.
So if you're not a veteran, then you're a regular person, just disabled.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. But if you're a veteran, it could also pass on to your unmarried surviving spouse too. So if you die, you're the veteran, you die, your spouse still gets that benefit as long as they don't remarry. Okay. So senior citizens are also entitled to something called a senior tax freeze. But if you go down to City Hall and ask for the booklet so that you can apply for the senior tax freeze, they're going to look at you like you got 3 heads and they're going to play games with you. They're going to be like, there's no such program. Yeah. No, the program where, if your income's under a certain amount, you can apply to have your taxes frozen. So even if they go up, you still got to pay the higher amount, but you get a rebate for the difference at the end of the year. That senior freeze. I went down to City Hall in my town years ago when my dad was still alive to get this for him. And they were like, there's no program like that. And I'm like, I know there's a program like that. I teach this stuff. I'm in real estate. I know there is. You get your taxes frozen. She's like, no, there's no program like that. So I turned around and started walking out. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is bullshit. Can I speak to your supervisor? And she goes like this. Yeah. Hold on, let me give you a little.
Wait, I didn't get to see your face. He was like, what?
Let me give you the full effect here. Hold on 1 second. She goes like this. I am the supervisor. And I was like, well, then you should know that there's a senior freeze program. There's a booklet every year. You got to apply for it, And she's like, senior freeze, senior. And there's 2 girls working under her in the back. And she's like, girls, do you hear of anything called a senior freeze program? And that's exactly how she asked it. And the 2 girls, they didn't say anything. I just saw them look at each other. And then they looked at her and they didn't say anything. And she's like, senior freeze. Oh, you mean the PTR program? Because it says on the cover of the book now, property tax relief, senior freeze. She's like, oh, there's no such thing called a senior freeze. It's called the PTR program, the property tax relief program. I was like, bitch, you know what I was talking about? This is why they're doing bulletproof glass down there,
Made her use her brain. She ain't used to doing that.
Man. These are public servants that are supposed to be helping us. Instead, they're like playing games with us because that would mean that the city would get less money because they would have to pay it back out. Not coming out of your pocket. What do you care? You get paid your salary either way.
State workers are the worst workers.
Man. That's city. That's at the municipal level, my city. You go to this window where you go to pay the tax bill. That's those people. Gotta be bulletproof glass. I don't want to get strangled. So here's a senior freeze PTR program. Okay. Well, certain residents may take annual deductions from any increase in property taxes. So for seniors who are 65 years of age or older, wait a minute. Didn't we just go over a previous chapter where you're considered a senior when you're 62?
No.
No, I think it was 65.
No, it was 62. Who cannot be evicted from a condominium conversion? Those 62 and older.
Oh, it was.
Then you could stay there for 40 years, and then they can't evict you till you're 102, and then you're just mean. Remember that line?
Is that because he just changed it to 65?
No. Why? Because the government, when it comes to taking money out of, if it's a benefit that takes money out of the politicians' hands, all of a sudden the age goes up to be considered senior. But if it's something that's not going to be taking money out of the government's hand, you can be considered a senior at 62.
That's a good way of looking at it.
But it's 65 when it's money. This is what I noticed, and I teach these things all the time, and I'm like, why is it 62? And then has to do with the money. It has to do with the money. That's why. You know.
Can you repeat one more time for 62 and 65, please?
You're considered a senior at 62, but if you want to get any kind of a benefit that deals with money, you're considered a senior when you're 65 or older.
And 62 for just senior, right?
Well, they're both seniors, 62 or 65 and older. But 62 and older, it's for a benefit that's not costing the government money. If the government has to shell out money or give you tax dollars back, you're not considered a senior till you're 65. You got to wait a few more years before you can get that, because they want to extract as much money out of your life as they possibly can.
That's a shame.
All right, it is a shame. Down to that window, I was so disappointed. I was like, imagine how many seniors go down there and they give them that same line of BS, and then the senior just walks away. You know, it's messed up. You know, especially living in a high tax state like New Jersey, where now you're retired. If you didn't work for the government, you're not getting paid a full salary. So you're living off of your savings, whatever they are. Hopefully you had enough in your savings to survive for a couple of years, your golden years, and whatever money you get out of Social Security, which ain't that much. It hasn't been that much for years. These days you get a lot more in Social Security, but is it enough to live on in New Jersey to pay your taxes? No, it's still not that much in the grand scheme of things, but it's a lot more than it used to be.
So right now, my grandfather's still paying property taxes because he's 82 years old. He can get his senior freeze.
Is he the owner of the property?
Yes. His house in the land. Yes.
Then he could get a senior freeze if he's 65 and older, and if he lived in the house for at least 3 years. And he has to meet the income requirements, which is very generous. If his income is not over $168,268 a year, he qualifies for the senior freeze program.
That's his income. But what if that's just sitting in his savings?
No.
But his income is not over that in a year.
Correct.
Okay.
So now this amount varies with the state budgets annually, and anytime politicians decide they want to play with it, because this was significantly less than this amount in recent years. It was actually under 100,000, but the last couple of years it's been going up a lot. So now it's at 168,268, which is good for the seniors, okay? Because they do count your Social Security benefits as well as any money withdrawals that you get from
stuff like that.
Whatever that, you know. If you look, I remember I got the senior freeze for my dad. So my dad, because of my dad, he was older than my mom, so he was able to get the senior freeze because he's 65 and older, and his income was under the amount that was required. But I didn't get it for him until he was 79. So he qualified for it when he was 65, but I didn't get it to him until he was 79. And I calculated it. I looked back what the taxes would have been. he could have had his taxes frozen if he froze them when he was 65 and was aware of this. He could have had his taxes frozen at $3,000.
Dag.
Instead,
On that.
I got him frozen when he turned 79, which is, you know, a little more than 10 years. And the tax, and at that point, 8,700. Just quickly they raised, and how fast and how much they raised those taxes in those 10 years. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, you could get a senior freeze. Now, the senior freeze basically freezes the taxes at whatever level you froze it at. And they'll go back 2 years, and then you could have the taxes frozen at that amount.
Is it a form you have to fill out, or you just go up to them?
So the taxes, you're going to have them frozen at a certain amount. And if the taxes go up, the senior still has to pay the higher amount of taxes. But they'll get a refund for the difference of where they had them frozen and what the current taxes are. At the end of the year, they'll get that money back. Or if the state doesn't have the money in its budget, which they never seem to, the senior will get a credit for that amount of money towards next year's taxes, so they could pay that much less in their taxes next year. So either way, the senior is going to get the money. Okay.
But do they have to fill out the application? Like if I go to my grandfather, I need to take something to him, or do I take him up to our municipality?
They get the senior freeze booklet to apply for the senior freeze. And this senior needs, and you need to supply your last 2 years tax returns so that they could make sure that your income's under that certain amount. And the senior needs to reapply, or every year they need to fill out a 1-page form and submit their tax returns every year. Reason being, they don't want to get approved for the tax freeze and then they pass away, and then their kids and family members are taking advantage of the getting the money, you know, the rebate. So
this is related to senior houses?
Any house that a senior lives in.
I'm talking about, you know,
that they have ownership of.
I see on Octi Road there is a big senior houses. There are
that's senior house
government thing, right?
Yeah, that's different. That's something that's different.
That's different, right? Okay.
This is about your property taxes for the property you own. If you're a senior citizen, you're 65 or older. Okay. Seniors' taxes would be frozen if the taxes go up, and they have to pay that amount. And the senior would just get a rebate for the difference from the amount where they got them frozen and whatever the current amount is that they're paying. They get a rebate every year for that.
I see.
Okay. Now, there's all kinds of benefits for seniors.
I know, yeah.
You have the Senior Freeze Program, you have the Anchor Rebate Program, and now they have something, the Stay in New Jersey program, the Stay NJ program, because seniors, they're like, I can't afford to live in New Jersey anymore. A lot of them, they go down to Florida during the summer, you know, or during the winter here. And then they live half of the year in Florida, half the year up here, you know. But a lot of them are saying, you know what, it's not worth going back to Jersey. Taxes are so damn high, I can't live there. You know, it's going to run out my savings, and I'm not going to have enough money in my savings to be able to survive. You know, so New Jersey came up with this this program here. Hold on a second. They came up with this program here. Let's see. So there's various tax relief programs. If you're under 65 and not collecting Social Security disability benefits, the Anchor program, eligible New Jersey homeowners and renters under 65 and not collecting Social Security benefits may have their Anchor applications filed on behalf of by the division. Okay, so that's your homeowner. You get to file for Anchor benefits. Okay, so here's the application, and it needs to be done by September 15th. We got 3 days from now, actually, that needs to be filed. Let me copy that link. I'm going to shoot an email off to my relatives on that one. Now, you also have the Senior Social Security Disability Benefits program. New in 2025, they combined the Senior Freeze with the Anchor and the Stay in New Jersey program. So you fill out the application once instead of once for each and every program. So what is this new Stay in NJ program? Let me see. The deadline to file is October 31st. This is for your Stay in New Jersey and senior freeze. Okay.
October 31st.
October 31st. Yep.
On Halloween.
So here, they give you the information. Well, where is it? They give you the information of how to fill out the forms and what the eligibility criteria are for the senior freeze. Let's see what the criteria are right now. What is the amount? Base claim per year.
Form PTR2. Where is that?
Requirement. Income reporting. No, they don't tell you right here. Eligibility. Click on it. Okay, here we go. See if the amounts are still the same. $168,268. Yep. Previous year is $163,000. And you can look at the income histories for prior years to that. One-time exception for exceeding income limits. If you received senior freeze last year but exceeded the limits this year, you will not be reimbursed as one-time exemption. You may retain your base year when applying next year if all eligibility requirements are met. Okay. If your income exceeds the limit in future years, a new base year must be established upon re-eligibility. Oh, what scumbags. It's not the way it used to be right now. It's not the way it is. Well, I guess it is now. Basically, if you're a senior, you get the senior freeze and you have 1 year that you don't qualify because you earned more money. You have a one-time exemption. But if that should ever happen again, then you need to requalify and whatever, for instance, when you first originally apply for a senior freeze program and you freeze the taxes at $8,500, let's say, and then the taxes go up from there. Okay, you get reimbursed the difference, but you're still frozen at $8,500. And if 1 year you make more money than that meets the requirements here to get the senior freeze program, well, you'll still stay at that $8,500 base, and then you get reimbursed the difference. But if there should ever be another year where you make more money than that, you need to requalify, and your base is no longer $8,500. It's whatever the current tax amount is. So now if it's at $12,500, you'll be frozen at that. And if taxes go above that, that's what this statement just says right here now at the bottom here. That's a change they recently made. What scumbags? Why make money? All right. Well, anyway, let's back this up a little bit. I want to show you something else about their programs that they have here. That Stay NJ program is another program that they have for seniors. It was supposed to be, Stay in New Jersey was supposed to be a program. So I moved it off screen so you can't see it. The Stay in New Jersey program was supposed to be a program where if you're a senior and your income's under a certain amount and it's your primary residence, you don't pay any property taxes at all. None.
Can you repeat one more time?
You don't pay any property taxes if you're a senior and your income's under a certain amount. You don't pay any property taxes.
Anything, probably. Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be.
They found somewhere.
The actual petitions.
Breaking up again.
Okay. Better.
Yes.
Okay. So that was supposed to be the law, where if the senior's income is under a certain amount, it's their primary residence, you don't pay any property taxes. But somewhere in the mix, when they were actually creating the law to implement it, they ended up they ended up, your politicians really want your money. They couldn't give up all of the money that the senior didn't have to pay taxes on. So instead now, it is a major reduction in taxes for the senior, but it is not a complete reduction. So this is the rule for the Stay in New Jersey program. You're eligible if you're 65 and older. It reimburses applicants for 50% of their property tax bill. So the interesting thing is it's a reimbursement. The senior still has to pay the property taxes, but then they'll get reimbursed 50% of it. To a maximum.
That's crazy.
To a maximum of $13,000 with a 2024 benefit cap of $6,500. So this is the first year, right? You're filing your taxes. You're filing them for the previous year. So 2024 maximum is $6,500. After that, it's going to be 50% of their property tax bill up to a maximum of $13,000. So to qualify, you must. So if your property taxes are $13,000. You get 50% of their property tax bill up to a maximum of $13,000. So in other words, half of $13,000, 50%, that's what the
six.
Yeah.
65.
So here's the information for the applicants. You can apply for all this stuff online. You don't got to go down to City Hall and deal with those people anymore. Look, those horrible people down there.
Oh, yeah, it's right there. Senior freeze.
Freeze. Here's the senior freeze program. Check benefit status. Here's the Stay in New Jersey. Oh, let me see how stay in benefits are calculated.
Yeah, senior, the last one.
Yeah, here's the link for the Anchor program, the senior program, and Stay in NJ. Where is that? Here's the application for the Stay in New Jersey. So, but applicants can submit a single application now for both for the senior freeze, the Anchor, and the Stay in New Jersey program all at once. Okay, so here I'll give you guys that link. It is in our slideshow, but and in our class links Word document. But here, that's the link. Takes you to this page. So let's just back this up a little bit. Let's look at all the programs. Where's this? So deductions, exemptions, abatements. Here's all kinds of other tax breaks in New Jersey, right? You get a $250 tax freeze for senior citizens and disabled people, $250 for veteran property tax deduction, 100% disabled for veteran property tax exemption. There's also a 100% for disabled people who are not veterans. Active military service property tax deferment, meaning that if you're stationed overseas and serving overseas, you don't have to pay your you're not going to get foreclosed on for paying not paying your property taxes because you're in the middle of a desert somewhere fighting a war. Okay. In the past, we've had, our New Jersey residents who are members of the military that are serving overseas have their properties taken from them by the state because they didn't pay their property taxes because they were overseas fighting for our country. Yeah, which is that's shameful. So at least now they have that tax deferment program. Let's see. You also have the some other discounts here for automatic fire suppression systems if the property's in a environmental opportunity zone. There's a five-year exemption and abatement for new construction in certain areas that they want to stir the building of it. Historic property tax exemptions, nonprofits, non-residential development free certification, whatever that is, renewable energy systems, and if you're in an urban enterprise zone, you get a property tax abatement as well. So these are just some additional benefits. You've got that Stay in New Jersey tax credit program. and the Anchor program, and the Senior Freeze. Here we go. And the Senior Freeze program. But once again, they got that combined thing now. But you could fill this out online. All right.
Mhm.
This is all under relief. Let me make sure that that's the nope, that's not. Okay, here is the link where you could get all those programs. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. If you've got a grandparent, you said is 80 something or 90 something, absolutely, absolutely get them enrolled in this if they're not aware of it. It's a shame that their accountants didn't tell them about it already. It's a shame that the senior center didn't do a reach out, or the city itself didn't reach out to all the seniors. They know who the seniors are. They know who seniors are in their town. They know everybody's age. They should send out to all the senior homeowners this information to help them. But they don't. Why? Because that would take money away from them. And they want your money. Give me your money, right? So here's some direct links on this slide, I just gave you that link here to that main page that has all of those programs. But here's a direct link for the Senior Freeze program booklet, the PTR program. Here's a Senior Freeze booklet with the application in it and the rules and everything. The first time they apply to it, they got to fill out the PTR1 form, and the year after it's PTR2 just to renew it. Proposal for seniors to cut the tax bill in half. That's this one right here. It turned out into the stay in New Jersey, but that's only up to a certain dollar amount. There used to be a brochure for all the different tax breaks in New Jersey, all the programs that more beyond what this website just showed. However, last year New Jersey took it down and they replaced it with this bulletin instead. Just about the $250 senior freeze or senior deduction. This used to be a flyer. This same link used to be take you to a flyer that showed you all the different senior tax breaks and benefit programs for people. You know what? Let's take a look in the shared Google Drive and see if I have those forms over there. I may have actually downloaded it and had it there. What would be called? Something about taxes. No, I just used the link because the link would always show the latest form, This is new stuff, so that's not it. Shit. Oh well. So anyway, that's that information. Okay, so continuing on. Tax rates. Remember, in order to figure out what your property taxes are, you need to multiply the tax rate by the value, the assessed value of the property. So the assessed value is a value that's set by the tax man. So I don't even think that this gives you a direct link to it anymore because they changed around their websites. Look at this. The link doesn't even work. They changed the link altogether. There's no more link to the tax rates. Let's take a look.
Yeah, because it updates every time, something like that.
Yeah, but it always gave you the link to the updated document.
Right.
And now that no more updated document. Let me see the link in the ClassLinks Word document. Is that the same? Treasury taxation. Let me take a look. Yep, it's the same. I recently updated it and they moved it again. So what do we call this? Property tax rates for each municipality. Okay. Let me search. on the state's website. Tax rates for each municipality. Well, they had it here for 2024. General tax rates. No, it's 2020. GTR, general tax rate history. Okay, let's click there. Oh, nope, that's a doc. That just opens up the document. What about here? Does this open up a document? Yeah, it does. Okay, so at least we can see what last year's tax rates are, but there's no page there that has them all the tax rates now. You apparently got to go to their website and search for it. That they don't make it easy anymore. So here are the tax rates in the different municipalities: the general tax rate and an effective tax rate. So you take your assessed value and then you multiply it by the tax rate to figure it out. So this is, here, I'll just take the 2024 one and I'll update it in our slides. So that you guys have the latest information, because unfortunately, they don't just have a page with it.
So that right there is telling how much the taxes are?
I mean, no, what the tax rate is. And you could use
that's percentage. Okay, that's 3 point. Okay.
Like you get a tax bill every year, but you also get a postcard that shows what your tax rates were last year and what the taxes are this year and what the tax rate. As far as the tax rate, you could take that assessed value that they tell you that they have for your property and multiply it by the tax rate to figure out what your tax bill is going to be.
Okay.
I see it is by city or county.
By municipality.
Mm-hmm. I don't see Middlesex over here.
Did I share it with you in the window? Yeah, you have to go through it.
Yeah, okay. 2024. I was using alphabets, I thought.
There you go.
Atlantic City, Bergen County.
Yeah, you got to search your municipality there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the taxes, the general taxes by. So Bergen County, you got to find your county and then you can go to your municipality. So you're in middle.
Yeah.
So you got to scroll down to Middlesex. Okay, here we go.
Got it.
Mercer, here's Middlesex, and here's you said Edison.
Yeah.
At 0.732.
Yeah, 5732. Yeah, general tax
rate is 2.086. So you may have to add both of these up, or if it's just the one, I'm not sure how it exactly works out. Let's see if we go to the previous page here up the link. Let me delete this last part. No. We delete enough of the link, we go back in the history, we may be able to get to a page where we could get to documents here. No. Yes, it goes all the way down to taxation. Yeah. You could get to taxation here, and then you could search for pay tax, need payment, veterans, military, tax collection, scams, news. Mediation, pilot program, property tax relief. Yeah, I guess you got to search for the tax rates. They don't make it easy, right? I don't know why they hide it all of a sudden. This is the state's division of taxation.
Because it's so high. It wants to run people away.
Because they want your money. That's why. All right. So let's go back to the slide and let's carry on. I added to the slide and the ClassLinks Word document this 2024 tax rates. All right, so what are the tax benefits available from the general property tax? Let's do the highlights here, page 136. Homeowners age 65 and older or disabled who meet certain income and residency requirements. It's their primary residence, not an investment property. May make annual deductions of up to $250 from their property tax, and annual deductions of up to $250 from taxes due on real and personal property are also available for veterans and their unmarried surviving spouses. Totally disabled war veterans and their unmarried surviving spouses also may be granted full property tax exemption on their dwelling house and the lot on which it's situated. Senior Freeze program allows homeowners age 65 or older who meet certain rather generous income requirements to apply for reimbursement of any increase in their property taxes. Residents who own and pay property taxes on a principal residence in New Jersey may qualify for rebates. A rebate's also available to homeowners and tenants who pay property taxes. Up to 18% of your rent, I guess they figure, is being used by your landlord to pay the taxes, so you as a tenant can deduct that if your income does not exceed a certain amount. And some property tax reimbursements also available for owners in mobile home parks, because you're paying a rent on to park in that mobile home park as well.
Mm-hmm.
Look, they give you examples. Look, you could find out more information about all this stuff on their PT benefits brochure. But if you go to this link, that's the one that just only shows you now. The only benefit it shows you is that $250 benefit for seniors. So it doesn't have any other benefits there anymore. It's not available anymore. Let's see. Let's see if we can even do a Google search for it. Search on their website. What is it? Flyer property tax benefits. I'm going to search the New Jersey government's website. I did a search there. New Jersey property tax relief filing event. No. I want to know about all their different tax relief programs. They used to have a flyer for it. No. Flyer for all property tax benefits. Copy that. Go to Google. And let Google do some of the work now for New Jersey. There we go. See if we could come up with if we could find that flyer, or if it's just deleted from history. Yeah, pretty much looks like it is. Yeah, they're just telling you about some of the programs, but that flyer doesn't look like it's around anymore. Let's see, maybe this Mine Hill or real. No, they only talk about that one program. Oh, well. Okay, so you guys got the highlights here, right?
Yes. Excuse me.
Here's what a municipal tax map is. You guys ever see a tax map?
Yeah.
It shows you the different lots by lot and block number in the city. Every block in your city is numbered. So on the tax map, it may be in a circle or a square box that's in a dark print like this one. Each block number has a number, and each lot on that block is consecutively numbered as well. So, like, this is block number 336, lot number 4 is this property. And that address is 1401 and whatever the street is here. Okay. Here, this property, this is my address, actually. Look, property's located at block 335, lot 5. All right. So
who would have provided that map? That would be
you could You may be able to get it from some tax record systems, or you could go down to City Hall. I get this. Most of our MLSs give us access to tax records, but some of them also give you additional information like tax maps, and you could look up the actual deeds of properties and things of that nature as well.
Oh, but who actually makes these maps? Like, do they have a title?
Well,
you know how we said, well, we could go out and I think it's a survey.
Okay, well, a survey is just for the one individual property.
Right.
Okay, but let's just say that all of these properties in this area here were all at one point one very large piece of property with a lot of acreage.
Mm-hmm.
The developer bought it and decided they were going to subdivide it, and they created a subdivision here. That's actually my section of town, my whole area of town. My whole section of the town that I live in used to all be a golf course at one point in time. A developer bought it in the 40s, I think, and then they started a subdivision and they started building a lot of these houses. Like my house was built in the 50s, so it was like 1953 or something. So they had a map, and what do we call a map of a subdivision? Did we go over that yet?
Heard of one, but I've never seen it.
Okay, we have maps of subdivisions, and then they submit that to the city, to the municipality, and now the municipality just they attach one subdivision map to the next subdivision map that's next door. So now they piece them all together, and now they have a big map of all the subdivisions. But the city will create a tax map to link them together so that the city can number them. So the city basically creates these maps based on these approved subdivisions that have been built over the years. All right, now the Farmland Reassessment Act. Farmers don't make a lot of money at the farming level, at the farm, and with the taxes in New Jersey, in order to have farms, listen, we're still called the Garden State for a reason. We don't want to put the farms out of business. So legitimate farmers should get huge tax breaks, because if they had to pay the same tax rates that we do for our houses, there's no way in hell they could stay in business. So farmers actually get a 98% tax break on the property. Now, in order to be considered a legitimate farm, to get this tax break, you have to have at least 5 acres. The farm must be at least 5 acres in size, exclusive to the home site. So excluding the land that the house is sitting on, you should have an additional 5 acres to farm in order to be considered a legitimate farm and qualify for these tax breaks. And the farm must earn at least $500 per year in gross sales for the first 5 acres. $500?
Victor, I have a question.
You need to gross $500 a year in gross sales in order to be considered a legitimate farm. Your question should be about that. How is that considered a legitimate farm? You tell me what kind of
$500.
What kind of farm can survive off of $500 a year in gross income? That's before your expenses.
Yes, I'm about to say fertilizer, trying to crop everything, get everything up to date to start farming.
That's right there. That's some BS right there, right? What legitimate farm makes $500 a year in gross sales? No farm can stay in business like that. That's a loophole.
Yes.
That's a loophole. That was put in the fake farmers, those rich people that own acres and acres of land.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of them starting to get farmlands just so they could get that tax break.
Well, they get their big mansions on their acres and acres and acres of land, and then they just register it as farmland. And then they say, yeah, we sell a couple of flowers or a couple of Christmas trees or a couple of eggs on the roadside, So
a lot of people are getting chickens.
Sometimes they would do that. They'd have a business in place with a roadside stand where you could pull over and you could buy some flowers or eggs or milk or whatever from their cows and their chickens and whatever, right? And they'd have the kids go out there and do that. Now they don't even bother with that. Some of them, they just put up the stands with some eggs out there and some whatever it is that they're selling. And then there's a box there that's on the honor system. Here's the price. Leave the money in the box. Like that. There's not even anybody manning those things anymore because they could care less if you actually pay it or not. They're going to claim it on their taxes that they had that much in sales.
They don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
They don't pay.
So it had to have been used for farmland for at least 2 years prior to your filing for that preferential tax treatment to get that 98% discount on your property taxes. Now, most properties used for religious, charitable, and other non-for-profit purposes are totally exempt from property taxes. Now, I remember one year when I was working in West Orange, I must have had about 38 different people come to me saying that they're starting a church and they want a property where they could preach away and have a rectory attached to it that they could live. So it's okay if it's a storefront downstairs with an apartment upstairs. Like they were giving me all these scenarios and everybody gave me the same exact scenario. And this was all like in the span of a month. I had like 38 people come to me wanting to open, looking for a property for their church, for their religious organization. And, growing up, my dad was a priest, so I'm Polish Catholic, so priests are encouraged to be married and have children and stuff, unlike Roman Catholic. And so I was curious, what kind of religion is this that you're starting up? What kind of church is this you're starting up? Because this month, you're like the 35th person that came to me, which is, you as a real estate agent, you may come across one person in your entire career that approaches you to look for a property where they want to open a house of worship. Okay. I had 38 people in 1 month. So to one guy, I was getting sick of this. I was like, what did you guys all attend a seminar or something? I was like, you're like the 35th guy that came to me this month so far. And this is rare to get one in your entire career. It's like you guys all went to a seminar or something. And the guy's response was like, well, you can't ask that. It's not legal. You can't ask, it's against the law for you to do that. We're registered with the government and we got our tax papers here. See, we just got our tax papers. And I was like, take a breath. Relax. My dad was a priest growing up, so I was curious what your religion is here. You're starting up a house of worship. You're wanting me to help you find a property for your house of worship. I want to know what that house of worship is. I didn't ask you if it was legitimate, which now I'm seriously questioning. Is it also legitimate because it's registered with the federal government? All we need to have is a congregation of at least 5 people that meet at least twice a month. And I was like, dude, breathe. But
So with that, they got a tax write-off?
I eventually had one of them tell me that, yeah, they did attend a seminar. And I was like, yeah, I thought something was up. Something was real weird, because every single person that came to me looking for a property they could have as their church and their place to live, to have the rectory there. Every single one of them, I asked, I was like, okay, well, how much money do you have now to spend? What's the price range you're looking in? Well, we can raise funds for, as a religious organization, we're allowed to hold nonprofit fundraisers as the church and the nonprofit. I was like, no, why are you telling me this? I was like, I asked you, how much do you have now? How much money do you have for me to show you a house that you could buy, a property that meets your criteria that you could buy? Well, we could raise funds, so you don't have anything now, right? Why don't you do your fundraisers from your congregation when you get enough money saved up to come back, okay? Make it back from any of them, Now, the whole time...
Did you sell any of them?
They were bullshit. They attended a seminar and they did what was required in order to form their religious organization, okay? That's as far as they got. now they're coming to me to help search for a property. You're not getting a property for free. You still need to pay for it.
Right.
So they had money. But one interesting thing, though, when I did Whipping West Orange, I did actually have one group of people that were looking for a legitimate house of worship.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, how much money do you got to invest in this? And they're like, well, we're not sure. We need to speak. I was like, oh, there we go again. You can meet with our accountant. We're meeting this Tuesday or whatever at this person's house, and this is the address. I could get it to you because we've been meeting at the congregation's members' houses that are the largest, where everybody can fit in them. Until we find a church. So we've been meeting at a couple of these people and trying to rotate it. So that the parking situation don't get too bad in these residential neighborhoods. And I was like, okay, so I'll meet with them. So I went to the house. They had their prayers and did their service or whatever. And then, they had their whole food spread set up in their kitchen. Then I started talking to them. They were legitimate. They were looking for a legitimate house of worship. They were meeting on a regular basis in each other's houses to pray. So they were looking for a new location. So I helped them out and I helped them find something. So they ended up getting something. I think it was in Livingston. It was a big group of Filipinos. They're very religious people, generally speaking. So they had the money. They had the money. Okay. So religious organizations, non-for-profits, charities, they could be totally exempt from property taxes. So the real estate broker must be alert for the possibility of such exemptions so that when property is offered for sale to the public, the buyers know the true tax figure that they're going to need to pay if they're not a nonprofit or a religious or charity, right? So the amount the new owner will have to pay rather than sometimes reduced amount that you may have because you're a senior and you're getting a senior freeze or you're getting a $250 deduction because you're a veteran or a senior or disability or any of that. So we need to know what the true tax figure is when we put a property up on the market for sale, not any discounted amount that the current owner may be paying, because the next owner will have to pay the true tax figure. So we don't advertise any discounted amounts. All right. So you guys have these highlights here, page 137. All right, so now I put together a couple slides for this. So this is what they mean, 5 acres exclusive to the home site. So, here's the house. You don't count the land that the house is on, but this additional land at the farm has to be at least 5 acres in size. That's what they mean by 5 acres exclusive to the home site. And here it is again. So farmers may take 98% annual deductions from their property taxes. That's huge. But you need to only gross $500 a year for the first 5 acres for wetlands and woodlands. And for any other property, it's actually, you need to gross $1,000. But we go by on exams, anytime, it always goes by the exception rather than the rule. So this is the cheaper one. For wetlands and woodlands, you have to gross $500 a year for that first 5 acres. If it's just regular farming land that's not wetlands or woodlands, you need to gross $1,000 a year for that first 5 acres. Either way, that's what kind of farm can exist. That doesn't even pay like your fuel for your farm equipment each year, or the seed or the feed or whatever, So these are fake farmers right off the bat here. So that's an exemption that they built into the law.
Thank you.
Okay. You want to get mad? Let's get mad.
Ooh.
The head of the New Jersey Transit. He makes $280,000 a year salary. He paid $19.42 in property taxes for his farm in Mendham, his property in Mendham, because he had it registered as a farm because he owns 2 sheep. Tell me that's not a loophole. You think the head of the New Jersey Transit is fighting for the living? No, I don't think so. He's making $280,000 a year at his job as the head of the New Jersey Transit, right? So his name this was in 2019, Kevin Corbett, the head of New Jersey Transit, earns $281,000 a year, and on his job, and on his financial statements disclosed that the property was residential. However, in county records, it reflected that he's been filing it as farmland since 1950 and only paid $19.42 in property taxes for 5 acres of his home in Mendham. The property was assessed at $900 value. House in Mendham. Actually, if his property was not assessed as farmland, if it was assessed like his neighbors were, his home is actually valued at $973,500, so almost $1 million, and his property taxes should have been $20,609. Instead, he paid $19.42. That's insane.
I pay more taxes than him.
Yeah, doesn't that make you sick?
Exactly.
What about this one? Former Governor Christine Todd Whitman, also one of the worst governors we've ever had in New Jersey. She was a Republican. She came under fire during her tenure when she served as a governor, reducing the taxes on 2 properties that she owned, 2 estates that she owned, by claiming that she sells firewood. You guys remember what little old Christine Todd Whitman looked like? Skinny little thing. You think she's out there?
It was bad.
You think she's out there
A lot of stuff.
firewood to sell it? You think she's a real farmer? No.
No.
She's probably just claiming and paying taxes on $500 worth of gross sales each year so that she can get a 98% reduction on her property taxes. It's a joke.
You know who else did that, Brad?
Well,
Brad Brinson did that too.
Who?
Brad Brinson, the football player.
From New Jersey?
Mm-hmm.
Brad Benson?
Yes. He had bought farmland. He had owned a car dealership. He used to be an NFL football player. He owned a car dealership out here, and I guess he messed up on his taxes. So he went or fell behind in the taxes with the car dealership. And he went and bought farmland and bought 2 pigs and put them on it and wrote all that off.
So he didn't necessarily buy farmland. He bought a property that he had registered.
Well, yes.
Farmland, right?
He registered as a farmland.
And, so look, here's another one. Here's another one that's a little bit older from 2007. Ellen Karcher, this is a Democrat. So we have both Republicans and Democrats that are doing this. What did she do? She owned a property in Marlboro, and she claimed that it's farmland because she sells about a half dozen Christmas trees each year. So I guess she got some woods on there, and she claims she cuts them down and sells them as Christmas trees.
But they don't have to show proof of their sales?
Yeah, they report their sales and they pay the taxes on their sales. How much sales tax that they're paying for $500 in sales is? How much are you paying in taxes? Yeah. You know, penny.
Around $30.
Yeah, it's maybe 20.
So they're only really taxing what she's selling and not actually taxing the land.
And in exchange, she gets a tax break on the land. She gets 98% discount.
Got it.
Well, but look at this. Bruce Springsteen, right? Do you know that Bruce Springsteen's a farmer? At least he claims to be. Bruce Springsteen, he pays over $138,000 a year in taxes on his 3-acre home in Colts Neck. Colts Neck is a rich area, a lot of money. So look, he owns 3 acres of land. He pays $138,000 a year in property taxes for 3 acres. However, connected to that 3 acres home site, he claims the additional 200 acres that's attached to it as farmland. So for that additional 200 acres he owns, he pays only $4,639 a year in property taxes. Because Bruce Springsteen's a farmer, didn't you know? So he actually likes horses, and he has horses. So I guess he claims it's a horse farm. You know, and look, then we got political activists, John Bon Jovi. He has a Navesink River Road mansion that has its own name. It's called the High Point Estate. It's worth $20 million. He only paid $104 on taxes for the 7.1 acres of his 15-acre estate because he says that he raises honeybees. Can't make this shit up. I swear.
You can't. Anything for them to keep, save $1.
Disgusting.
These are all fake farmers. These are rich people using this for their benefit. Now, you tell me you don't think judges and attorneys and doctors and celebrities in New Jersey aren't doing this? They're all part of it. We don't reap this benefit because who of us can afford more than 5 acres of land in New Jersey?
Correct.
Expensive as it is. So yeah, this is crazy. So
wait, one question.
Yeah.
Oh, that's only about farmland, because John Bon Jovi,
yeah.
He owns a restaurant. Can he write those off as a tax thing or not?
No, not a restaurant, but it's a nonprofit restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I shouldn't say that. It's partially nonprofit. Yeah. It's actually him and Bruce Springsteen and a couple other celebrities. They own a restaurant. They actually own, I think, 3 of them. I think they have 3 locations.
Yeah, I think it's up to 3 now.
Where they have restaurants in their rich towns where poor people can come. I don't know how many poor people live in Colts Neck. They can go over there and have these meals cooked for them by 5-star Michelin chefs. And then you only pay whatever it is you could afford to pay of the bill. Yeah, it sounds like a great concept for poor people, but like I said, how many poor people live in Colts Neck and are going to one of the restaurants over there? You know, why don't you put it in an area where there's poor people? You know, why don't you go put that someplace like in Newark or down in Elizabeth or something? You know.
Yep.
Put it somewhere where the poor people live, right? So anyway, these guys got busted. Remember Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen years ago? They had a concert. It was called Farm Aid because the farmer is the backbone of our nation, and the farmer is getting abused. They're getting crushed in our country. We need to do this charitable concert so that we could raise money for the farmers who are the backbone of our nation. So they had this whole thing with a bunch of celebrities, and they did this Farm Aid concerts. They raised millions of dollars for farmers.
Mm-hmm.
The little part that they didn't tell you is that they both have their properties registered, and they are supposedly farmers themselves. So who do you think they raised that money for?
Themselves.
But they're a big charity. They're big charity people, right? Oh, by the way, they were also fighting for legislation to get our politicians to give subsidies, more money to farmers to help them run their farms. So, who do you think is getting some of those subsidies as well? Because they got farms too, you know? So it became a big deal because it raised a lot of eyebrows when it came.
Holy crap.
You all right?
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I'm sitting in my kitchen and this big bug just fell. I'm so scared of it. I'm so sorry. Dwayne, look. I'm so sorry. I got to get rid of this. I'm going to mute myself real quick.
All right. So, anyway, because this became a big issue now, and it was outed that these celebrities are posing to be farmers so they could get huge tax breaks on their properties. Politicians, this was brought to their awareness here in New Jersey as if they didn't already know. And they said, nope, we got it under control. We're going to fix this problem. You're right. That $500 gross amount is ridiculous. So we're going to fix that problem.
Do you get tax break if you have
They raised it to $1,000.
if you hello, you can hear me, right? Do you get tax break if you have farm in your back country, in your country?
This is in New Jersey.
It is in New Jersey. Okay.
For New Jersey only. For the property that you own in New Jersey, to get a tax break on the property you own here in New Jersey.
I see.
Okay, that's all it's for. Okay, so you know, the politicians in New Jersey said that they'll fix this problem. This is a loophole. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. That is kind of ridiculous. You only need to gross $500 a year in sales to get considered legitimate farmland. So they ended up fixing the problem. They raised the amount to $1,000, which is still a joke. Okay, but the amount that we need to know for exams is $500 for the first 5 acres, because that's the case for the lower price properties, which is the wetlands and woodlands. It's $1,000 for those farms that are not wetlands or woodlands. Now, Jeff Tittle, the director of the Sierra Club New Jersey chapter. If you guys are not familiar with the Sierra Club, it's an environmentalist group. Okay, so the director for this environmentalist group in New Jersey called that $1,000 figure a sham reform. And he said the minimum should be increased to $10,000 or a little bit less. I think that's ridiculous too. I think it should be increased to $1 million. What legitimate farmer is not grossing $1 million in sales? You know, they should have it at $1 million. Oh, look, here, let's make it $500,000, 500,000. You know, any legitimate farm should be grossing $500 a year in sales, $500,000 a year in sales. And then they could just put a simple form in place that if your farm is grossing less than that, that you need to fill out a form under the penalty of perjury, stating why you should be considered a legitimate farm and still be able to get the tax break. Okay, so there's the solution. There's the way around it, politicians. That's how you write the law. But nope, none of them have even attempted to do that. So instead, a spokesman for the part-time farmers, those fake farmers, pleaded to keep the minimum at $1,000 after reviewing an old study completed in 2008 by Rutgers University's Agricultural Experimentation System that found that if the minimum were raised to $10,000 in gross sales, that the state would lose about 39.3% of its farmland in New Jersey because they would become ineligible for the tax exemption. All right. Thank you, Rutgers. You know what you just told me? You told me that 39.3% of the farms in New Jersey are fake. They're taking advantage of a loophole. You're telling me that 39% of the farms out there, if they had to gross $10,000 a year in sales, that they couldn't meet that requirement? So that tells me that 39.3% of that farmland is fake. Those are fake farmers taking advantage of a loophole. I don't know. If you own a property and you pay property taxes, you should be pissed right now. Moving on. So, who qualifies for favorable tax treatment here in New Jersey? There. Let's update this slide a little bit even. And I'll just write that in there. Okay, so who qualifies for favorable tax treatment in New Jersey? Well, senior citizens, veterans, and their surviving spouses, surviving unmarried spouses, farmland, or farmers, and then we have religious, charitable, nonprofits, disabled veterans and disabled non-veterans and disabled veterans and their surviving unmarried spouses. They qualify for 100% total exemption from property taxes. I should actually remove this 100% disabled and stuff because it's I don't know if that's the requirement. So I'm going to just say disabled non-veterans and disabled veterans and their surviving unmarried spouses. Okay, because up here, remember, this is for that $250 deduction, and farmers, they get a 98% reduction. So this is for their that $250, right? This is for that $250, and this is for the 98% reduction in property tax. And then you get 100% total exemption from property taxes if you're religious, charitable, nonprofit, disabled non-veteran, or disabled veteran and their surviving unmarried spouses. Boom. Now, what is a special assessment? Well, that's also a tax. It's an improvement tax, but it's not improvements that the homeowner does to their property. It's for improvements the municipality does around the area of where your home is. So if you stem to possibly benefit from that improvement, well, then you got to pay to fund it. So let's do the highlight here. And I want you to write next to here, improvements done by municipality, not the homeowner or not the owner. Yeah, I'm gonna update that a little bit.
Improvement.
Yeah, I'm gonna type it up over here so you can read it a little bit better. Just give me 1 second. So the municipality does not the homeowner. Or I could just say improvements by the municipality, not the homeowner.
Practice license.
Improvement by the municipality. Oh, not the homeowner.
Yep.
Got it.
I think what my place was in chapter 9.
So improvements by the municipality, not the homeowner.
Improvement done by municipality, not homeowner.
By the municipality, not the homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, so special assessments and special tax that require property owner to pay for improvement. Oh, but why is it done by the municipalities? You're not the owner.
If you know this, because this is not talking about improvements that are done on your house. This is talking about improvements that are done in your neighborhood by your city.
Oh, okay.
Your city get the money to do those improvements, or they're going to tax all the homeowners that live in that area that could possibly benefit from using that improvement. Maybe they want to put in like cobblestones on the edge of your sidewalks in your area of town. Or maybe they want to pave some sidewalks and they want to put in some old world street lighting to make it look fancy. And they're going to do that in your neighborhood. Well, they're going to bill all the property owners in that neighborhood for whatever it costs to do that project.
Oh, wow.
And how does the city bill people? Their property taxes. But this is not a reoccurring property tax, so they can't just put it in the general tax. It's a special assessment. It's a one-time tax to pay for that improvement. If they want to build a park in your neighborhood, they may issue a special assessment tax to fund the park. Okay, these are just some examples. Now, in practice, every licensee should be careful when selling property that includes special assessments. Many times, the improvement has been financed over a number of years, and the homeowner didn't just pay it all at once because it could have been tens of thousands of dollars. And the new property owner may incur financial liability for continuing those payments if it wasn't paid off by the seller. When we get a listing, that's an important question to ask, right? Are there any unpaid special assessments? We even ask that question for condominiums, because the homeowners association can issue special assessments for all the unit owners if they want to do improvements in that complex. It works the same way.
So is that a separate bill, or they're going to put it like how do they? It's a separate bill.
Yeah, it's a separate bill that they it's a tax. So it's a bill that they give each homeowner that you need to pay. As a matter of fact, they even got it on our sales contracts now. So you guys got these notes, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. So, oh, no, that's not it. Let me see if I could pull up and show you an actual sales contract.
Do they specify what they did, what improved that in the city or in our area? What did they do?
Well, they're going to issue you a special assessment tax that they're going to do some kind of an improvement. I don't know. I never got one of those bills, so.
Yeah, even I don't see those stuff.
But I've sold many condos and houses that did have special assessments on them that the homeowner still didn't pay off because they were paying it over a period of years. Like there was a condo complex, I remember, where the association was going to put in, they were going to replace all the storm doors. They were going to repave the walkways and put in railings and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
And they were going to charge each homeowner $10,000 for that. So you could pay it all at once, or we could pay it in several payments, or we could work it out to be paid over a period of years. So your monthly maintenance, they'll build it into your monthly maintenance fee. They'll add, that's an additional fee that you need to pay until it's paid off. So if you're going now to sell your condo that has that special assessment on it, the buyer should be aware of this, that the seller's either trying to push off that, special assessment on them to finish paying, which they should not. It should be paid for by the seller because that's when the tax was issued. So we should just make sure the seller pays it.
No, I just want to make sure for individual houses, do they have special assessment like improvements, the taxes?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, absolutely. I was just saying that I actually started by saying that. And then I went into that condos can get it as well.
I see.
I was just giving you
property owners must pay. Okay, got it. Property owners, that's the individual houses also.
So what was I looking for? Oh, I was looking for a sales contract.
Yeah, a sales contract.
Hold on one second. I'm going to open one up from my computer. I'm going to show you a sales contract, a sample. Let's see.
I want to learn how to calculate the property tax on the regular, the whatever the price we buy the property, how to count that tax.
Okay, well, we'll show you an example. It's coming up. All right. I'm just waiting for my computer to open Adobe.
Yeah.
I guess for some reason it's taken a while for this contract to open. Ah, here we go. I got a different one that opened a lot quicker. Okay, maybe there's a corrupt file or something. All right, so here's a sample. This is the opinion 26 notice that needs to be the cover page of any contract. And what is its purpose? To tell you have a right to hire a lawyer, right? And then after that, here's the actual sales contract. And remember, we were talking about special assessments. Well, there's contracts make up a lot of things. You could just look at the table of contents instead of scrolling through trying to find it. You can just look at this table of contents and try to look for special assessments. See if you could find the special assessments. If you guys can scan this with me, there's 43 sections here. So let's see.
Disclose the buyer, burglar, disclose the written impression, attorneys, notices, no assessment, no assignment. Picture goes with prior journal.
I don't see that.
I don't see it neither. Purchase price, manner payments, significant asset, accurate.
Oh, special assess. No, that's a sufficient asset. Sorry.
Performance certificate, occupants and zoning compliances, municipal assessments.
Yeah, where's that? Oh, 10.
Number 10.
Okay, so section 10, municipal assessments. So you can see each section of the contract. There's line numbers on the contract, and there's also section numbers. Okay, so we're going to be looking for section number 10. Right
Oh
here.
my goodness.
Okay, so this is our sales contract, section number 10. The seller, do they represent that they have, or they do not have been notified of any special assessments? So if they do have special assessments, they need to disclose it. They should have to pay it too. Because remember, when they put their house up for sale, they agreed to sell the property free and clear from any liens or encumbrances. Special assessment tax that hasn't been paid is a lien, right? It's an encumbrance. So title shall be free from all and clear from assessments for municipal improvements, including but not limited to special municipal liens, as well as assessments and liabilities for future assessments. Okay, so the seller has to pay these special assessments. So we even made this as part of the contract now. They put a section in there about that. I just wanted to show you that.
So the seller has to finish paying off those taxes before he can sell the place.
No,
he has to finish paying them once he buys it.
Well, the seller needs to finish paying it, those taxes, but it'll come from the proceeds of their sale.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we could do it that way. It'll come from if they don't have the money now, it could come out of the proceeds from their sale, from their profits. Okay. All right, so the taxation process. Actually, I should even do one, see if I can get a screenshot in here for that. Maybe make a slide. And yeah, I'm going to put a slide with the screenshot. I'm going to duplicate this slide and put in there that there's a
municipal assessment.
Yeah. Special assessments, property owners must pay for improvements that the municipality makes to benefit them. So I'm going to put here. to show you. Let me get you to the screen that I'm doing right now. Okay, so the improvement may be financed over many years, may be a financial burden on new owners if the seller didn't pay it off yet. Our new contracts have a section about municipal
assessments.
The seller is to pay off
any lien.
Yeah, to
The assessment tax. Do.
right here. The seller is to deliver the property free from liens and encumbrances, including special assessment taxes.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Let me take a screenshot. Let me
I
pull
am.
my thing here, and where's my snippet tool? And snippet. Open that up. Let me get a screenshot of this, and I'm going to add that. To this slide.
Each classes you have some kind of edit, right? Of course.
Yeah, sometimes I
yeah.
Things are always changing too, so
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
dates, on stuff. Yeah.
Okay, let me just create screenshot this one. Oh, 1 minute. That black thing.
Yeah.
What is that black thing? Special assessment tax is blocking. You highlighted that one in the black color?
Wait, hold on a second. I'm not sure what you're talking about. All right, give me 1 second here. I'm just gonna add another note here to this slide, and then I'll go full screen here again. From this.
I'm talking about the title.
And our sales NJR form.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about title. Okay, let me snip it now.
You see the tool? You see it now?
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna snip it. Okay, good.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So this is that thing. So I just made another slide. So here's the previous.
That's nice.
It has this with the screen with what you need to highlight in the book, and then the next slide talks about that these need to be paid.
That's nice.
Section 10 of from our sales contracts.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just write NJR forms, sales contracts, section 10. That's it. All right. I'm going to update these slides in the shared Google Drive. I'll replace them because I made modifications. Okay, so the assessment value, the taxation process, we have an assessed value. Assessed value is different than market value. Market value is the price. It's what the property goes for. It's the price that the seller's asking for. Market value is based on supportable evidence, what homes are going for in the neighborhood based on recent sales. Okay, so that's market value is how much they're selling for. The the market price is what the property actually sells for. Market value is an estimate of the value based on recent sales. So in a perfect world, market value and market price are one and the same. But the tax man doesn't use either one. They use an assessed value, which they use a complicated math formula, not that complicated, but they use a math formula to figure out your assessed value. And in order for us to be able to decipher it, we need something called a tax ratio. You may need to contact your municipality to find out what its tax ratio is if you can't find it online. So we have tax rates, which determine what the tax of the property is. And then we have a tax ratio, which is used to reverse engineer the assessed value that a tax man is applied to your property to figure out what the actual market value is that they're using. So an assessed value is a value used for tax purposes. It does not reflect the actual property value. The word value means 100%. Anytime we're talking about the value of a property, we're talking about all of it. We're not only talking about a portion of it. So the word value means 100%. And to reverse engineer what the market value taxes are based on, you could go to the, they send a postcard to your house. This is what your last year's value of your property was. This is what this year's value is and what your taxes are going to be or estimated to be. Well, they tell you the land value is this much. The improvement value is this much, and then they give you a total value. But they refer to it as assessed value because that's different than market value. It's not a reflection of the actual value. It's usually a lot less than what the market value of your home is. So when people get that postcard or that tax bill, they're like, maybe I should keep my mouth shut. I was going to appeal my taxes to try to get my taxes lower because my taxes are expensive. But if they're only assessing my property value at this amount of money, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Otherwise, my taxes are going to go up even more. Because let's just say you have your property's estimated value is $400,000. In the tax record, the assessed value may be showing as $102,000. And you're like, damn, if they think my house is worth a lot more than $102,000, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And otherwise, they know what the actual value is. If you could find out what the tax ratio is, because it's in the tax record, or if it's not in the tax record, you're going to need to call City Hall or try to look it up online for your municipality to find out what the tax ratio is. And then you take that ratio. You take the assessed value, divide it by the ratio, and then multiply it by 100, and that'll give you the actual market value that your tax assessor really thinks your home is worth and what they're basing it on. Why do they go through all this? Why do they make it so complicated? Because they don't want you to argue about what you're paying in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You have a tax appeal guide here. I gave you the link. It's here in the book. I gave you the link. This is actually updated for the tax appeal guide and information page. And then there's also how revaluations work in your municipality. There's another link right here for that. I have all of these links in the class links and Word document, by the way. I could share them with you here now. This is the guide about how tax revaluations work. It gives you a brochure here with several other links and resources and learning about how do you value properties, the taxable value, if you want to do a tax appeal, how that works. So here's that one guide. And then if we go back to the slideshow, I have that other link down here, the tax appeal guide and info page. Let me copy that. And share that with you. This is actually the tax appeal guide that walks you through how do you calculate your taxes and determine if you could do an appeal. Like in my town, they give us access to resources online where you can look up all the sales, either public or private sales. And then you can use them to try to justify a tax appeal. Keep in mind, a tax appeal, you can only appeal the taxes on your property. Well, actually, you cannot appeal taxes. A tax appeal is kind of misleading, that term. You cannot appeal the taxes on your property of what you pay. A tax appeal is appealing the value that the tax assessor applied to your property, which they then use to calculate the taxes on. If you go down to City Hall and say, yeah, I want to do a tax appeal to get my taxes lowered, they're going to tell you, we don't do that. You got to contact your politician and argue with them about your taxes. We have no control over what your taxes are. That's true. It's technically true. What they do have control over down at City Hall, what your tax man has a control over, because those tax rates are created by the politicians through the money that the state and all those other taxing bodies need from you. So they create that tax ratio or that tax rate. However, the tax man has control over the value that's applied to the property, which is multiplied by the tax rate. You see, they try to play these games with you. If you go down to City Hall, because I did this before and that's what happened. I went down, I said, yeah, I want to appeal for, because I was trying to find a guide. Instead, I found it myself online because they were not very helpful. I said, yeah, I want to apply for a tax appeal, get your taxes lowered. And he's like, oh, we don't do that. He could have been helpful and corrected me and explained to me, well, you can't say that because it's actually the politicians that set the taxes for the tax rate, which is then multiplied by the assessed value. What you want to do is you want to appeal the assessed value that was applied to your property because you think that we overestimated the value of the property. Okay, so let's just correct you there, and it could be simple. Instead, they're going to give you this whole thing. Oh, you got to contact your politician if you want to appeal the taxes. We got no control over that. And I was like, this useless piece of garbage, and I left, And then I went and I figured it out. I got it myself online, the information, and I was able to successfully do a tax appeal on my own because the tax man overestimated my property's value by 35%. Now, there are a margin of error of 15%. If they're anything more than 15%, you'll win a tax appeal. But look at that. They're allowed to overestimate the value of your property by 15%, and you're not going to win a tax appeal. Okay. Now, so in each community, a certified tax assessor lists the value of all properties as of October 1 for the tax year that begins the next January 1. This assessed value is what the year's taxes are based on. And New Jersey has a set goal of full value assessment, almost impossible to attain. Why is it almost impossible to attain? Because in order to get a correct valuation of all the properties in the town, they would need to get an appraiser in every house in every town every year. First of all, legally, they can't do that. They can only reassess your property's value once every 18 months. That's as often as they could do it, legally. Now, when they do it, anybody here ever have the city send an appraiser to your house? Ever? I'm not talking about the appraiser you paid for when you bought the house to get the loan, that you paid the appraiser a fee, and your bank sent out an appraiser. I'm talking about, have you ever had your city tax man send an appraiser to your house to estimate the value of your home? Anybody?
Not me.
I never did, not until I filed a tax appeal. Then they have to send an appraiser. But none of you, right?
No.
So how do your taxes keep going up every year? How do they keep reassessing your taxes? You get a tax bill, they keep reassessing your taxes. How does it go up every year if they never send anybody to your actual house to value the home?
They do an estimate.
And what do they base that estimate off of?
To the value the other home in the neighborhood.
Okay, so what they actually do, they send out an appraiser to appraise a handful of houses, maybe in your neighborhood somewhere. And it's probably the same houses every time, you know? So your tax assessor does hire an outside appraisal firm to go in, maybe appraise just a few houses in your neighborhood. And then they do a blanket assessment based on that sampling that they do. So they actually do send out an appraisal, just not to everybody's home. This is why most of your homes in your neighborhood, are they about the same architectural style, give or take about the same size, give or take the lots are about the same size, right?
Yes.
So because of that, they're all similar. They could take a little sampling and then just say, well, if these homes all appraised in this range, then all the other homes must be as well, because they're all similar. So you better hope that little sampling of appraised homes that they appraised weren't just all remodeled. Because if your home was never remodeled and you got this sampling that the appraiser is using of all homes that have been updated and remodeled and are beautiful and nice and updated, they're probably overestimating the value of all the other homes that they're guesstimating are in the same ballpark.
So then that's when you have to do the appeal?
That's when you try to figure out what the value is that they applied to my house. And then you could either get a real estate agent to do a CMA for you, or you do it now because you're the real estate agent. And you can figure out how much the home is worth, how much your home is worth. And when you figure out how much your home is worth, you can be like, oh, they're overestimating the value. Okay, well, hold on. You can't do a tax appeal yet. You got to do another calculation. Are they overestimating it by more than 15%? Because they're allowed a 15% margin of error. And if they are, then you can do an appeal and win.
Okay, as long as they don't go over, if they go over the 15%, then I can do the appeal. But within that 15%, then it's just average.
It's within toleration limits, correct? Acceptable limits. Okay?
Okay.
So this is how you take the assessed value that the tax man applied to your property to figure out what the actual market value is. You take the assessed value divided by the tax ratio, which you're going to have to try to find out what it is, and then you multiply it by 100.
And that's how you get the market value from the okay.
Correct. Now, let me take a look at the ClassLinks Word document here. And let me take a look. I may actually have that information where I looked it up. Let's see. Understanding value valuations, tax guide, tax breaks plus you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're okay. Assessed value, how to file an appeal, the tax appeal guide, understanding valuations. Okay, here's some tax records. Tax words, okay. And I got some math problem examples. Okay, no, I do not have those. I'm gonna have to look them up again. So we looked up on one of the previous slides the tax rates for each municipality. What we're going to also need to know is the tax ratio for each municipality. may be in tax records along with tax rates, or you may have to find them another way. All right. So then down here, doing the tax appeals, I'm going to put that in there again, at least on the ClassLinks Word document here. Okay. All right, so an equalization factor. What is an equalization factor? Well, because not every district assesses properties exactly at the market value, the State Division of Taxation publishes tables of equalization rates, because we have richer counties and we have poorer counties in our state. We got 21 different counties, right? So we have richer counties and poorer counties throughout the state. So an equalization factor may be used to raise or lower your assessed value in a particular municipality or county. The equalization issue is important to local governments because state funding of programs such as aid to education is based on the assessed value of the local real estate. So the assessed value of each property in an area is multiplied by the equalization factor, and then the tax rate is applied to the equalized assessment. Okay, so that's how you calculate your taxes. However, you get a problem on your exams, a math problem on your exams about figuring out the taxes, and they don't give you an equalization factor, well, then you don't use the equalization factor because they didn't give you one. But if they give you one, you have to factor the equalization factor in first. And I'm going to give you a math problem that shows you how to do it.
Oh, boy.
So let's see. Equalization factor. This is the formula. Equalization factor times the assessed value equals the equalized assessment. And then you times that by the tax rate to figure out the taxes. It's just the number you multiply. I'm just spelling out. Okay, you take the equalization factor and times the assessed value. And then you times that by the tax rate. It's not that difficult. But if no equalization factor is given, you just take the assessed value times the tax rate, and that's your taxes. Now, when you talk about rates, there's something called a mill. A mill is 1/1000th of a dollar or 1/10 of a cent. Often, you need to know that definition for exams. A mill is 1/1000th of a dollar or 1/10 of a cent. In either area, it's 3 decimal places. Okay? So mills can be calculated in several different ways. In New Jersey, we usually do it per $100 of value, though. But on exams, you're going to do it if they say it's per $1,000 of value or per $100 of value. You do whatever the exam asks of you. Now, either way, I want you guys to highlight page 138 what an assessment roll is. An assessment roll is a list of all the taxable properties in your municipality. If we went back to the previous slide, or the slide before that, I'm sorry, we learned that a rateable is a taxable property. A rateable is what you call a taxable property. And a list of all the ratables, all the taxable properties in the municipality is called an assessment roll. So you could just look up to the right side column of the taxes of all the properties in your municipality and add up that column, and that's your city's budget for the year. That's guaranteed money, right? Because everybody has to pay their taxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's money that the city's guaranteed to get every year. Not counting the money that they get from permits and fines and all kinds of other stuff. You guys have this highlighted, right? Or you still need to?
Yeah, this one is done. Yeah.
Real 38. Yeah.
Okay, so then that assessment roll is, here's where you get to highlight it on page 138.
Mm-hmm.
The real estate are located within the jurisdiction of the taxing body called a SIM. The real estate located within the jurisdiction of the taxing body is called assessment roll.
All right, so if your municipality needs to raise $300,000 to buy a new street sweeper or garbage truck, and your municipality's revenue is $10 million, this is how they calculate it. They take the amount of money that they need to raise, divide it by the total budget, and that's your mill rate. So now, a mill can be calculated as 30 mills per $1 of assessed value, or $3 per $100 of assessed value, or $30 per $1,000 of assessed value, using this example of that mill rate that they needed to raise, the money they needed to raise here in this example in the book of $300,000, which gave us that mill rate of 3%. So the state of New Jersey calculates taxes based on per $100 of value. Sometimes they give us math questions on exams, though, that ask us about per $1,000 of value. Then just figure it out that way. I'm going to give you a couple examples instead of just saying this to you so you could see what we're talking about. So here's a slide that has pretty much most of this stuff and formulas on it. So the assessed value, once again, that's the value used for taxation purposes, right? And New Jersey's goal in assessing property values for taxation purposes is 100% of the property's true market value. But that's almost impossible to attain. They would need to get an appraiser in every house every year in order to be accurate like with that. So properties, in reality, this used to be a line in this book, but they took it out. Properties have been assessed as low as 15% of their true market value and as high as 150%. So the tax assessors allowed a 15% margin of error. If you want to appeal the assessed value, an owner can dispute the value of the improvement to the real estate, not the actual land that it sits on, because land does not depreciate. So you can't just look now at what the value of your property is. You have to now separate the land value from the total value, and then you calculate what the improvements value is, the building. Because buildings rot, they fall apart, they age. So you could appeal the value of the building, the structure, the improvement, but not the value of the land. You know why? Land does not depreciate. Not short of there being a toxic chemical spill or hit with a nuclear bomb and it's full of radiation, that's the only time that land depreciates. Otherwise, land does not go down in value. So, a rateable is a taxable property, and an assessment roll is a list of all the taxable properties in the municipality. Here's a guide on how to file a tax appeal. The tax appeal general guide. That's the same exact link, isn't it? No, it's not. And understanding valuations, how properties are valued. Okay, so remember, to figure out the taxes on a property, we take the equalization factor and multiply it by the assessed value. Now we take that equalized assessed value and multiply it by the tax rate to figure out the taxes. If no equalization factor is given, you just take the assessed value times the tax rate to figure out the taxes. A mill is 1/1000th of a dollar, or 1/10 of a cent, or 3 decimal points. Tax bills, your property taxes become a lien on your property as of January 1. However, you don't need to pay your taxes in full at the beginning of the year. They bill you quarterly, right? Once every 3 months, you get a tax bill that you need to pay. Tax liens are specific liens that only affect the property being taxed. So if you don't pay those liens, it only affects that one parcel. Here's a link to a free tax record search system. Here's a link to all the county tax boards. You're probably better off going there now, because this one I just had that pointed to the Middlesex or the Monmouth County tax record system. And then it had all the counties in it, but it doesn't anymore because of Daniel's Law. Each county wanted to separate now. They don't want to be responsible for filtering out all the law enforcement who requested not to be in public records. So now all the counties used to cooperate with each other and have it in one searchable database. Now they separated it out. You got to go to each county to do a search of the tax records. Now, when you're a real estate agent, you're going to get access to tax records in the MLS with your MLS membership. And so you could do a search from a single place of all the county records. Here, this link that I just gave you is only for Monmouth County now. It used to be for all 21. So you could then pull and search each municipality in Monmouth County. For each additional county, you go to the County Tax Board website. Say you're in Middlesex County. You could click on Middlesex. And then here, to access records for Middlesex County that were formerly available through the New Jersey ACTB tax record system, click here. So I click there. And that takes you here. Looks exactly the same, doesn't it? Except now only Middlesex. So all they did is they separated them out so that each county is responsible for their own. They don't want to have a central one, a central search, because then if on their website, because if they do and one of the other counties didn't filter out records, then they could get in trouble. So
we just have to fill our information and it will show how much, right?
Huh?
Search criteria. The second one, location, owner name, block.
Well, no, you first you got to select what town you're in. Like if you're in, select Edison. Now,
yeah.
And you could either search by the property owner's name or their lot and block number,
lot and
address. But keep in mind, you have to type that address exactly as it is written in the tax records, and that could be tricky.
I see.
So put in as little information as possible about, and then you'll get your tax records that'll come back.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So see, that's why they got that Daniel's Law statement even down here now. All right. So let's just do a search of, I don't know, give me a street name in Edison.
Edison, McKinley Street, McKinley.
Do you spell it?
M as in Mary, C California, K Kite, INLEY.
Okay, so we don't know if it's a street, road, avenue. Okay, if it's a street, you would just probably put ST, and that would probably be the abbreviation that they use in the tax records. So, you know, maybe there's a circle, a street, a drive, an avenue. So we're just going to put down the location as McKinley in Edison. All information as possible. Do a search. Whoa. Apparently there's only one house on that street.
Lot 110. Okay.
So here's the block number and here's the lot number. Here's the owners. And you can click more information. And it pulls up more info about the tax records. Not a whole lot though, it doesn't look like. So you could see that this property was this tax record was updated 8/21/25. It was last sold 3/7/2025.
Oh, it's recently, huh? Oh, this year.
And it was sold for
125.
$250,000. $1.4 million.
Yeah, one.
The land is 83 by 119 and it has IRR after it. That means it's not a square or rectangle, it's an irregular shaped lot. They can be found on the tax map at the County Hall of Records here on page 125. It's 0.42 acres, not quite a half an acre. The house square footage they have listed as 3,206 feet. Interesting, they have no tax amount yet.
Or the style of the business, or the home.
Well, I'm wondering if this is a new home. This got to be a new home because there's really nothing in the tax records here on it.
Yeah.
All right, give me another name of another street in Edison, if anybody knows.
What about, I think it's one called Truman? Is that a proper?
I don't know. Truman, like that?
Yeah.
Okay, here on Truman Drive. All right, let's just click on any one of these properties at random here. So I'm going to click on one here at random. This is Nixon, New Jersey Properties, LLC. It's owned by. And you can see that there's the price. Wow, this got to be a commercial property.
Yeah, I was about to say, because then it also says the owner.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a commercial property. I want to see one that has the style of the homes on there.
What the hell? So this property sold for $19,795,096 on 8/20/24. That's a lot of do-re-mi.
So do you think he bought the lot and then subsidize it, or is this just one building?
Well, the property taxes on it are $43,600 a year.
So that's one building.
But that seems kind of low for it being $19 million home.
I don't think it's a home. I think it's.
You know, let's go to something else. Let's try to find.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can put this.
This looks like these businesses or the township itself that owns these properties here.
Okay, so let's try a different street. What's another street, Edison?
Westgate Drive, Westgate. No, that's the Minebrook. Oh my goodness.
Not even with the condos. Let's go to Westgate.
That was the name of the timeshare.
What, Westgate?
Yeah.
Now, let me click on one of these at random. Yeah.
How about can you put Roxy Avenue? Roxy Avenue. ROXY Avenue.
Okay, hold on. Let me back out here then.
That's a old street, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna put Roxy. I'm not even
ROXY. Roxy Avenue.
E or it could just be AV, I'm not sure. Well, okay, it looks like they put it as AVE in the tax record. So let me click on a name at random. And 23 Roxy Ave. And the owner lives, these are the owners, they live at 23 Roxy Ave. It's 85 by 132. Built in 1979. It's 36 square feet. Property tax. That's pretty low.
Yeah, $3,945. That's.
Well, the property.
Here is the house.
The property was sold for $430,000, and there's only.
When was it? 2020.
2020.
But it's very low tax. My goodness.
It was built in 79. What does style 2 mean?
I don't know. That's the city's code.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking that's where they would show us what type of style house it is.
No, this could mean that it's 2-level, 2-story.
Okay.
You know, different towns have different tax codes that they put in there. But look, you could see the history of it too. 2024,
Yeah.
Same all the way
Price in it.
to one. It doesn't look like they changed anything. The assessed values haven't changed at all. But I don't see a tax ratio listed here or a tax rate. Where's the tax rate? Tax rate. Either way, I don't see tax rate or ratio listed here for this.
It's not saying it.
And you could click more to look up the history.
What is the link to check this text? Did you share on
Yeah. Yeah, that's that tax record system right here, the tinyurl.com/NJ tax search.
Okay.
But that's just for Monmouth County. And go to that, you could then click on NJ County Tax Boards, which takes you to that county tax board's website, which I also have the link for on that same slide. So here, this is the county tax boards, okay? And then you have to go to each individual municipality or each municipal county. Like if it's Union County, I could click on Union. It goes to the website for the Union County tax. I could file a tax appeal here. Okay, I want to do an assessment record search, so I'm going to click here. And you see it takes me to that same looking type of thing, but this is only for Union County. I could check all the towns over here. Let me look up Linden. I'm going to look up Sunnyfield.
So after you are in Board of Taxes, and where should we go? Who we are, and then where should we go?
Well, I just gave you that. You got to go to each individual counties.
That I did, and after that?
And then which county are you in?
Middlesex County.
You got to find somewhere on there. On Middlesex County, it's at the top of the page there in red.
Oh, yeah. I remember now. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Okay, so here I'm looking up Sunnyfield Drive. So I'm going to click on one of these properties. A lot of people these days, they're not putting their name there. They're purchasing it under an LLC. So their name's not in the tax record. But okay, whatever. This property was purchased 2023, September 2023. Sale price was $520,000. Taxes are $8,895. Well, actually, it may be this one, $9,291. The total area of the land, they don't give you a lot size here, the dimensions. Instead, they say the land is 5,590 square feet, or 0.1 acre. Year built 1953, square footage is 1,188. The lot and block number. Look, you could even pull up the assessment postcard here. See how it's a little bit different in each county? So you could click on it. This is the postcard that was sent to this property owner. It showed them your land is estimated at $61,800. The building at $64,700, and the total assessment is $126,500, which is way less than what they bought it for, right? It was what? So this is the thing that popped up here, so you could see. Yeah, it looks like the postcard, right? But yet their 2024 taxes are $8,895 a year.
Wow.
And the property's value is at $126,500. But if we had the tax record, we could see, well, wait a minute, this property sold for $520,000. How could that be? Well, look, they got a tax ratio published here. Let's see, do they have a tax rate? Nope, not on this page. So we could take the tax, since this is the most recent sale, $520,000. How do we reverse engineer to find out this is the sales price? But if you look at the tax records, the tax man gives you a tax bill. They said in 2025, let's go to 2023 here, even though it's all still same numbers. The total assessed value is $126,500. And the tax rate's 24.33. So how do you figure out how much the tax man's estimating the value on this property? Let's go back to the slide to figure out the value of the property. We got to go to that previous one. Or is that slide? Take the assessed value, divide it by the tax ratio, times it by 100. So we take the assessed value of 126,500. I'm opening a calculator on my cell phone. 126,500. And then what do? We divide it by the ratio, which is 24.33. And then we multiply it by 100, times that by 100, and it gives us $519,934. How much did this property sell for? $520,000. So this property's just about assessed at 100% of its market value. So will you win a tax appeal here? No. You guys still here? You went silent all of a sudden. Or are you just intensely?
I'm here.
Are you intensely focusing on what I'm saying? But you guys see how I just figured that out?
I want to write it down, how you count.
Okay, well, hold on a second. It's written down right here in the slide. Assessed value divided tax ratio times 100.
The excess value is the price, right? It's the price.
Assessed value is the value of the property applied by the tax man for taxation purposes.
And that's a
market value is the value that an appraiser would tell you that it's worth, that you could sell it for.
Oh.
So to figure out what that market value is, we take the assessed value from the tax man, divide it by the tax ratio of the town, and times it by 100 to figure out what's the real market value that they're basing their taxes on.
Yeah, that I got the point. But from that figure, can you please go to that?
So we go back here and we look at the total assessed value of the land.
Assessed value, which is the 126,500, right?
Yep, 126,500.
Okay.
And the ratio is
divided by the ratio, which is 24.33.
Okay.
And then times that by 100.
Where's my phone? My calculator.
Did you get it?
I'm trying to find my calculator.
Yeah, I'll pull up a calculator app on my.
Why? I can't find them here.
I wish I could share that whole screen. Let me see.
Yeah, I got it. What is the price of the house? 519,934. I got 519,934.
Yeah, so this is what you do. I know you could only see the calculator right now and not the tax record. So I'm going to put in that 126,500, right?
Yeah. Divide
33.
Multiply 100.
And then times that by 100.
Yeah, so 519,934,238.
$519,934.24.
Yeah, they bought it for 520,000. Yeah, right on point.
So they pretty much are estimating their
520.
assessing the property at pretty much full market value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So these many people, they bought this house?
Well, recently, let me see. Hold on.
That's what I was gonna ask. In the part,
Well, 2025.
they bought it.
This is just showing the location and the value. But yeah,
But
over
you see the guarantees over here?
yep, 2023, this 1301 Sunnyfield Drive. In 2021, it was Isaac and Fisher and Toby. Isaac Fisher and Toby Fisher were the owners of the property. That they bought it at $400,000. Wow. Bought the house 2021 for $400,000. 2 years later, flipped it for $520,000.
And look at the original.
Look at this. Look at why is this person have it listed at $1?
But it looks like he changed the name on him. Another person went in with him on the property.
Well, listen. According to New Jersey law, documents, the value of the property has to be recorded in the tax record when you sell the property. You can't just put $1 down. So they bought the property in 2017 for $244,000. This is two people here, Kyle and Case, whatever. And the tax ratio then was higher. And then the next, was it 2019?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's owned by Robert Kelsey. Okay, so over here before Robert Kelsey. Now he changed it to just Robert Kelsey and Anne Marie Goebel. Okay, so these are the two owners of the property. They're the same two owners that they had over here. I think, wait, I don't see anything about Anne Marie, but Kelsey, Case, Kyle, whatever.
Seems like Kelsey had it with Kyle, and then he got out of business with Kyle and went in with Robert and Anne Marie.
Yeah. I'm guessing that these are all relatives here and that maybe somebody got added to the mortgage because this is a refinancing right here. They either refinanced, or they added someone else, or made a correction to the name in the ownership records in the public record. That's why it's listed as $1, because there was no sale that took place. Because the law would require them to put down the full sale price, as you could see for all the other transactions, anytime a property is sold. All right. So anyway, you guys just saw an example of how to figure out how to do a reverse engineering of the value of the property. Now, to figure out the taxes, you'd need to know the tax rate, but they got the taxes listed here, but no rate. However, I did have that link open before. No, that's not it.
I have a question. If you put very specific information, it's not popping up. Let's say if I put some house number. No,
You can't be too specific. You may be wrong on the house number and how it's numbered in the tax record. It may be a number and a dash and another number, if you don't. So I said, put it in as least information as possible, because if you don't put it in exactly as it is in the tax record system, you get nothing.
It's not gonna, I see.
Searches anyway, using tools in the MLSs that we use. That could be a different story. For example, here, let me show you. Wait. Let me not get off topic here. We're still on this property here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Now, we did have in the slideshows, I want to figure out what the taxes are here. We got to figure out what the tax rate is. It's not listed here in the tax record for some reason. They got it on the assessment postcard. Nope, no tax rate or tax ratio. those things they used to include on here, but they don't. So let me close that out. In our slideshow, I gave you a link before about finding all the tax rates in New Jersey, remember? That's probably far back, you know. Yeah, that's probably far back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the class links Word document because I got it in there where those tax rates are. Where do we are? Here we go. Rates for each municipality. Remember we opened this PDF document before for 2024? So this is in Linden. Linden's in Union County. So let me search this document for Linden. And we have a rate of 7.032 and the general one of 2.201. I don't know if you've got to add these two up or if you just use this one. So let's try to just use this one, 7.032. All right. Actually, I need to open the calculator. Later. So what we're going to do is what are you guys seeing in front of you right now? Well, that's tax rates. Okay, that's okay. We are here. So it's $126,500, right? Well, let's look at what the current value of the property is, right? It's $520,000 is what it's sold for, but the tax rate, we don't know. We know that this is what's listed in the tax record as the taxes, and we know the tax ratio is 24.33, and the total estimated assessed value is $126,500. So in our slideshow, how do we figure out what the taxes are? You take the assessed value times it by the tax rate equals your taxes. So if we go back here, the assessed value is $126,500, right? So we'll go to the calculator and we'll put in $126,500 times $7.032. $7.032. Yikes, that's a lot of money there. 889,000? No. Divided by 100. $8,895. What are they paying on property taxes on this property? 889,895.
So about the stamp.
What did we get? 8,895 and 8 cents.
So that's accurate.
What does the tax record say? 8,895 and 48 cents. But we had to hunt around to get that information because they didn't put it all in the tax record like it's supposed to be, like it used to be. Some towns do, some towns don't put all that information in. But that's how you would try to figure out the taxes on a property, with just the assessed value and the tax rate. And we figured out what the actual value, that the market value that the tax assessor used, by using the assessed value divided by the tax ratio and then multiplied it by 100. Okay.
All right. So the second equation was just the second equation is telling us how to get the taxes, the tax price.
Correct, to figure out what the property taxes are in the property. So we just showed two examples, how to figure out the property taxes and how to reverse engineer what the tax man is estimating your actual market value is on your property by just using the information they have in the tax records, the assessed value and the tax rate. Tax rate is used to determine the value. Tax ratio is used to determine the value. Tax rate is used to determine the taxes.
Say that one more time. Tax ratio.
The tax ratio is used to determine, to reverse engineer and figure out what the market value is. And the tax rate is used to determine what the taxes are. So let's do a tax appeal here on screen. Here's some records that from some tax records I took from several years ago. I put together this slide. And this is the way that it works. In this example, it's already worked out. Remember, the tax assessor has a 15% margin of error. If the property tax value, if the property is assessed at value $133,000 and has a mill rate of $23.01 per $1,000 of value, how much would the property taxes for this property be? Well, taxes are based on assessed value, right? Yeah. So $133,000 is the assessed value, and the mill rate is 23.01 per $1,000. So how many times is $1,000 going 133,000? 133 times. Times that by the mill rate, 23.01, and the taxes are $3,060.33. Assessed value times tax rate. Well, in this case, it's assessed value times the tax rate per $1,000 of value. Let's do another one. Let's see if you guys can figure this one out. Tax ratios are used to reverse engineer the figure out what the true market value is of the property based on the assessed value. So the formula was assessed value divided by tax ratio times it by 100. That'll give you the market value that the tax assessor is using. So if you have $133,000 assessed value divided by 40.37, the tax ratio, that gives you $294,000 or $94, times it by 100, and that gives you $329,452. So it's pretty straightforward. So let me give you a problem here to figure out. If a house is valued at $120,000, it's assessed for 80% of its value. The tax rate is 26.34 per $1,000. How much is the property tax bill on this property?
Let me tell you.
Well, I want you to first tell me what are taxes based on? What value are taxes based on?
The value of the house.
The market value?
Yes.
No.
No?
They're based on the assessed value.
The assessed value.
Yes. Assessed value is a value used for taxation purposes. They don't use the market value. You use the assessed value. It's important to know that.
For taxation purpose.
This problem, the property is assessed value. The value of the property is $120,000, but its assessed value, it's assessed at 80% of that value. So what is the assessed value on this property?
We said the value is 26.34.
What is 96,000?
So, yeah, times 80%.
Is it 96?
Yeah, that's 96,000. So the tax rate is $26.34 per $1,000 of value. How many thousands are there in 96,000? 96. So 96 times 2334.
I got lost. I'm lost somewhere because I'm not getting none of that.
Hold on.
20,000.
Huh. Yeah.
We'll divide it by the 26.34, right?
120,000 times 80%.
Oh, times it by the 80%. So that's not the assessed value. The 120 is not the assessed value.
That's the market value. The assessed value is 80% of its.
Okay.
So 126,000 is a market value. So 80% is gonna 96,000 gonna be excess value, right?
That's the assessed value is 96,000.
96,000, yeah.
2,000 times 80%. That's 96,000.
Right.
So I'll do 96,000 divided by
Thousands are there in 96,000.
equals that divided by.
And then we have to find the property.
So-
How much is the property tax bill?
So 1,000 goes into 96,000 96 times, right?
96,000. Wait. 90. All right, I got that part. So 96,000. Then the tax ratio is the 26.34. Correct?
Correct. So now you take 96 times 26.34.
Okay, we have that number, and we're gonna divide it by
No,
100.
no. We're trying to figure out what the taxes are.
2,528.
This is how we did it. 120,000 times 80% is 96,000. Divide that by 1,000.
Ooh, I
96.
like that.
Times it by the mill rate of 26.34, and we get $2,528.64. So answer is B. Okay,
I had to do this a couple times.
so let's do it again.
Spoke too soon.
Here's one from the 13th edition book. What's the annual real estate tax on a property that's valued at $135,000 and assessed for tax purposes at $47,250 with an equalization factor? Oh, this problem adds in an equalization factor.
Oh boy.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we have the S. Wait a minute.
You got to figure out that first if there's an equalization factor. So there's an equalization factor of 125% when the tax rate is $250 per 100.
I don't even know where to start.
Just slow down. Repeat it. Break it down. What does this question want to know?
Real estate tax on a property that is valued at 135, and that's for the tax purpose at. All right, so that's the assessed value.
Hold on. What is the question asking of you? What does it want to find out?
The annual real estate tax.
Okay. So that's what we need to first find out. We got a long-winded question here. We needed to find out what is the question asking of us? What is it trying to accomplish here?
Annual real estate tax.
You know what the annual real estate tax is. Okay. So what are taxes based on?
The excess
Assessed
value. Value, yeah.
So does this problem tell us what that assessed value is? It says the property is valued at $135,000 and assessed for tax purposes at $47,250. Do we need that $135,000 figure for anything? No. So we take the $47,250 and times it by 125% or 1.25.
5,906 times 2.25, right?
I got to break this one. I got to break these slides down so it breaks the answer in one thing at a line.
2.50.
Okay, so this is
that's 14,765.
So you got to multiply it by 125%, which is the equalization factor. That gives you what? 47,250 times 1.25 or 125%. What does that equal?
5,906.25.
See, 47,250 times 125%. That's 59,062.5. Yes.
And times 250, right?
No. The tax rate is $250 per $100. So now you
times
it by 100.
By 100.
Times the $100 go into $59,062.50. That goes in. We divide it by 100. That gives us 590.625. Now,
what we do after we got the 59,000? What's the next step? We're trying to figure out
we
what we do.
Okay, hold on. We need to figure out what the taxes are. How do we figure out what the taxes are? The taxes are $2.50 per $100 of value. So how many times does 100 go into that 59,000, whatever it is?
59? I'm just guessing.
No, just divide it by 100. And you get
59.0625.
Yep. $590, 590.625. Correct.
So
now,
the taxes is okay.
Now we need to multiply that by the $2.50.
147.
So the taxes are $1,476.56. And this is how we got to it. Here I go here on the slide for you. Makes it a lot easier. I got to break this down that I could click on it on each step so that it comes on.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so we started off with the assessed value, 47,250. Had an equalization factor. We got to factor that in first. So 47,250 times 125%. It actually brought up the assessed value. So these people need to pay more. So it's $59,062.50. Now the taxes are $2.50 per $100 of value. So now we need to figure out how many times does 100 go into $59,062.50. So we divide it by 100. That gives us 590.63. Times that by $2.50. And the taxes are $1,476.56.
So 135,000, that's giving you just the value of the property.
Yes. And when we figure out taxes, we don't need to know what the market value is. We need to know what the assessed value is.
Assets value is, okay. So we just have to count on 47,250. We're not gonna work with 135. That's
you always start with the assessed value.
Assessed value.
And then if they get an equalization factor, you got to factor that in first.
And the assessed value comes from the municipality, right? That to give us that number, correct?
The rate, the mill rate. Yep.
So we are paying tax on excess value, not the property value.
Yeah. But what is New Jersey's goal when it comes to assessing properties for taxation purposes? 100% of their true market value. That's their goal. But remember, I told you, in reality, some properties have been assessed as little as 15% of their market value to as high as 150%. So we just got to go based on whatever figures the tax man has. All right, so we'll have a few more of those problems coming up in a moment. Real estate values as viewed for tax purposes by the owner look like this, right? The owner looks at their house like this when it comes to valuing their property for taxes. And the tax man looks at your house like this, right? But when it comes time for you to sell your house, for some reason that switches. The homeowner looks at their house like this all of a sudden. Yeah, because that's how much money they want in their pocket. All right, so tax liens. Taxes become a lien on the property as of January 1st, but you get billed quarterly, every 3 months. If by the end of the year, December 31st, you did not pay your taxes in full, you're going to start getting letters that you're going to start getting late fees and penalties, right? For not paying your property taxes, for paying your property taxes late. And then they'll start sending you letters. Your taxes are late, you got to pay your taxes or face late fees and penalties and possible legal action, right? So if at the end of the years, December 31st, you didn't pay your taxes and another 6 months goes by and you still didn't pay them, the tax assessor in your town the tax collector in your town is required to hold a tax foreclosure sale.
Mm-hmm.
So the local tax collector is required to hold that tax sale. Now, advance notices will be posted in 5 places in the municipality. They'll put up a letter in the city hall. They'll put up a letter in the library. They'll put up a letter. They'll post it 5 places somewhere. Now, somebody walks by and grabs it, pulls it down. Well, they posted it. So they also need to post it in the local newspaper for 4 weeks. So owners of the
newspaper anymore.
Huh?
I said, who reads the newspaper anymore?
It's in the paper. That's where they post it. Well, owners of the property should receive a notice of the forthcoming sale by mail, and if they don't, the sale's still valid. You know you had to pay your taxes and you didn't pay them, right?
Mm.
So the purchaser at a tax sale, this tax auction, if you pay, if you go to a tax auction, what exactly is it that you're paying in New Jersey anyway? Let's stick to New Jersey here because this gets really different for each state.
I know, yeah.
In New Jersey, we have a tax certificate system. So basically, when they hold a tax auction, your municipality just wants the taxes. They want the money that they could spend, right? So when they have a tax auction, the bidders that come to that auction, they have to pay the full outstanding tax amount. So what are you bidding on at this auction?
The old taxes.
No, you have to pay the full tax amount.
You broke up. Say that one more time.
You have to pay the full tax amount. So
the full tax, meaning the ones that they didn't pay, correct?
Correct. So
yeah, you got to pay the whole balance.
So what is it that you're bidding on at these auctions then? You're bidding on the interest rate you're going to charge the homeowner to pay you back.
Oh, the interest rate. Okay.
In New Jersey, that starts at 18%.
Ooh.
And it goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever is the lowest, like say that we go to this tax auction and there, and you go with me, and we both want the same property. The person owes $10,000 in taxes that they didn't pay. So I raise my hand. I say, I pay it. So I have to have the full $10,000 to pay it. I'm not bidding on on how much I'm paying. I'm bidding on the interest rate I'm going to charge the homeowner. And if I'm the only one that bids, because I looked around, nobody else is bidding, I said, I pay it. And if I don't say any tax amount, I get it for 18%. But you're sitting next to me and you're like, I pay their taxes. 17% I bid. You would win the auction because you were lower than my bid. But we could go back and forth like this. I'll be like, I pay the taxes at 5%. So that homeowner has to pay me back the $10,000 at a 5% interest rate. Still above what your current banks are paying you, right? What are your savings accounts paying you these days? 5%, let alone 18, right? So if I win the auction, I win it at 5%. Yay! So what do I get? I get to pay your $10,000 in outstanding taxes. That's what I get. And I also get a certificate that says that I won the tax auction. I paid $10,000, and I'm getting the homeowner has to pay me back the $10,000 plus 5% interest in 2 years from today. If they don't pay me back all my tax dollars plus the interest, then I can foreclose on that property owner for non-payment of taxes. So I get the same authority as a municipality. So what comes first in the tax in the lien repayment order?
Property tax.
Tax has got to be paid first, always, right? So if the
Construction.
property owner does not pay me back the $10,000 plus the 5% interest and any other reasonable legal cost or filing fees, I can foreclose on them, wipe out all other liens that may be on the property, including a first mortgage loan, and I get that property free and clear. I get the ownership free and clear for whatever I paid in their taxes, which was $10,000.
So you just got a $500,000 house for $10,000.
Look, even if the house is a piece of shit that needs to be torn down, how much is your basic? How much is a buildable with? At least 200,000, right?
Mm-hmm. So she came up, because then you could fix it and resell it to somebody else.
So
so can she get that property? Then say she wanted to sell it, she could sell it for the actual property value, right?
Yeah. Because you guys got all the liens, even if there was a first mortgage house, they still owed $400,000 on the property. Well, the lender should have stepped in and paid the taxes then. This is why the lenders will usually try to get borrowers to include their taxes and homeowners insurance in the monthly mortgage payment, so that they can ensure that those important bills are being paid. If you're not paying your mortgage payment, they know that those bills aren't getting paid because they're the ones that are rendering you the payment.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to include your taxes and homeowners insurance in your mortgage payment. And in that case, the lender wouldn't know what's going on. So is it possible that you could get foreclosed on due to non-payment of taxes and then get foreclosed on and it wipes out your entire mortgage amount? Yes. I could go to that auction, pay your $10,000. I bid 5%. I was the lowest bidder, so I won the auction. Now I got to wait 2 years. I cannot go looking through the windows or walking on the property. I'll get arrested for trespassing. I don't have any ownership interest in that property. I have to wait 2 years for that homeowner to pay me back. If they don't pay me back within 2 years, I could start the legal process of foreclosure. And then I get the property free and clear. Look, the holder of a certificate may obtain clear title by the legal process of foreclosure anytime within 20 years. I'm not waiting 20 years. You know, who's paying the taxes in the meantime? So I'm going to foreclose ASAP. And then I'm going to put that property on the market. I'm not even going to touch it, to fix it, to flip it. Don't need to do any work to it. We could find plenty of people looking for fixing and flipping deals. So I'm going to sell that house as is for whatever the current market value is. Or if I want to sell it quick, I could even give it a below market value price. Just value it a little bit beneath that for a quick sale.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I've done this before for people. I haven't done this yet. I haven't been to the auctions yet myself. I've been meaning to, and I keep missing them. So the last client that I had that did this was several years back already. He paid a guy's taxes at auction and foreclosed on him, and then he listed the property for sale with me. So I listed the property for sale to try to find a ready, willing, and able buyer for this property that he got through a tax auction. By the way, the taxes on this 4-family house in Hillside were $7,500. And it was a nice house, big house. By renters. I don't know why he wasn't paying the taxes. But whatever. He didn't pay the taxes. He got foreclosed on. The taxes were $7,500. Let's just say that the homeowner taxes for 2 years. That's $15,000 that this investor paid off $15,000 in taxes. Let's just say he's overpaid an attorney $5,000 to do the foreclosure for him. What's he in? He's all in $20,000 now, right?
Mhm.
So I sold that house for $490,000.
Wow. And he only put
Question: if the property has a mortgage, who pay the mortgage?
Nobody. It gets wiped out.
mhm.
They certain in the lien who comes first? Taxes.
So the ownership lost ownership of it. So now there's no more.
If you don't pay your taxes, it wipes out all other. If you're foreclosed on due to non-payment of taxes, it wipes out all liens on the property.
So the bank doesn't have no right to ask for money?
The bank got screwed. They could chase after the old homeowner for not paying them back the loan. But then it's now unsecured because they don't own real estate anymore. So good luck chasing after them for money. They'll probably just file bankruptcy and won't have to pay you anything.
Wow.
How long are we going to go on for? 'Cause I have to go to the babysitter and pick up.
Well, I didn't realize what time it was. It's 5:05 already. All right. Sorry about that. Here, let me just finish off this slide and we'll end right here. I know there's only a couple slides left, but you know what? We're going to finish off right here. So make sure you have all this stuff highlighted. And if a municipality forecloses on a tax sale certificate, it's through the process of a judicial foreclosure held before a court. And that action is called an in rem proceeding.
I didn't know how to. That's a REM.
Yeah, it's IN space REM.
REM.
REM. So
What is that?
So it's a.
Oh yeah, it's here.
It's a
REM.
proceeding reserved only for municipalities to foreclose due to non-payment of taxes.
Hmm.
And you just highlighted it so that you know what it is, because you'll probably get it on exam.
Wow.
And what is the redemption period for private parties who purchase tax certificates?
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah.
If the municipality purchases the certificate themselves, the homeowner has only 6 months to pay it back. But if a private party buys it at an auction, redemption period is 2 years. They can still pay the taxes and the interest and fees and get the property back and avoid foreclosure. They have to do it within 2 years. Okay?
2 years. Within 2 years.
Mm-hmm. 2 years and 6 months.
Yeah, so we're going to go over this whole, we'll pick up here. We'll go over the whole tax auction process. I have a website here where you can learn about where the tax auctions take place.
Yeah, I want to see that.
We're going to go over all those details and maybe about a couple more slides, maybe 4 more slides, and the chapter will be done. But we'll finish that off tomorrow. Not even 4 more slides. I think it's like 2. But I'm going to show you some, we'll talk about this. So we'll finish off this tax chapter tomorrow. Hold on a second.
Saturday?